The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Trust. To trust someone. What does that mean? I suppose that in simple terms it means you feel sure that a certain person will not let you down, that you can put complete confidence in him or her. Assuredly, trust ranks among the strongest expressions of the human psyche. Yet it is also the most delicate and vulnerable, as Claudia Hammond found out. Our mystery drama, Trapped, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by George Lothar and stars Nina Foch. Well, now, this thing, trust, it's as strong as tempered steel, yet as delicate as, a piece of porcelain. Strong because it grows slowly, deeply, in the compost of unselfish deed. Example, you would not trust me on brief acquaintance, but if I did several unselfish things for you, you would say, I trust E.G., because my welfare means more to him than his own. Yet, should I do one selfish thing, for whatever reason, and your trust, your confidence in me would crack, perhaps even shatter.
No, Claudia. When you want to sit up in bed, you let me adjust the pillows. That's what I'm here for.
Dear heaven, Mary, can't I exert myself at all?
Not if you want to recover from your heart condition. Bed rest. That's what Dr. Stein ordered, and that is what I am paid to see you get.
Money can never repay you for all your care.
Oh, now, I'm rewarded in other ways, in watching you get better.
Huh, better?
You are getting better. Oh, it's slow, but you mustn't despair.
Mailman.
Todd, darling.
In person. How's the most beautiful wife in the world doing today?
She's very well, Mr. Hammond.
Oh, looks it, too. Rosy cheeks, bright blue eyes, shining gold hair. Give your actor husband a kiss.
Speaking of my actor husband, shouldn't you be at the theater?
Oh, I'll make it. Jerry kept me on the phone talking over the new film contract, and I wanted to sort the mail before taking off. Here's your batch.
Thank you, darling.
One more kiss. And I'm off. Take good care of her, Mary.
You know I will, Mr. Hammond. Well, now, let's see what your handsome mailman has brought today.
Now, let me open some, Mary.
All right, you can open these while I... Well, what's this?
What?
It's a letter addressed to Mr. Hammond. He must have overlooked it when he sorted the mail.
Huh?
Shell pink envelope. Perfumed. Woman's handwriting.
It's another MASH note. Todd gets them by the gross. Open it, Mary. Let's see what it says.
Oh, should we?
Of course. Todd shows me all his fan mail.
Oh.
Well, you know, proposals of marriage and offers of love and, I don't know what all. What's the matter?
A matter?
The way you look when you open that letter. Mary, what is it? Now, let me see that letter.
No, Claudia. I'll just give it to Mr. Hammond when
Mary, please, let me have that letter.
All right.
What? What? Mary, did you read this?
Well, I glanced at it enough to...
Todd, dearest, of course I love you as deeply, passionately, as you love me. And you're right. Claudia does stand between us. So, dearest heart, I've changed my mind. I will go along with your plan to put her out of the way. Signed, Margot.
Margot, whoever she is, could use the services of a psychiatrist.
You think this is just one of those crank letters?
Oh, what else could it be? Claudia, you don't think it's anything but that?
If it is, he'd have good reason.
What are you talking about?
I'm not a wife anymore. I'm a burden.
Now, I will listen to no more of that. That husband of yours doesn't just love you. He adores you.
Or acts as if he does.
All right. All right, have it your way. Now, it's time for you to take your tonic and have a nap.
I don't want any tonic.
You've got to have it. It's the one thing that really builds up your strength.
Strength? For what? To go on living?
Of course. Oh, Claudia, honey, what makes
If
you...
Todd doesn't love me anymore, I'd just as soon be dead. Todd? That you?
Sorry, sweetheart. I didn't mean to wake you. Just to look in on you.
Turn on a light.
No. Go back to sleep.
What time is it?
It's 2:30.
2:30? Where have you been till this hour?
With Jerry, talking film production this time. I'll be glad when he gets that picture deal straightened out. But come on now, back to sleep.
Aren't you going to kiss me goodnight?
Of course. Oh, hey, down, girl, down.
Oh, Todd, I love you so much.
Oh, no more than I love you, sweetheart. But you know what Dr. Stein said about
I don't care what he said. Oh, Todd, I want you. I want to be a wife to you. The wife I used to be.
You are a wife to me. The dearest, most adorable wife any man could have.
I'm an invalid. A millstone round your neck.
If that's the case, you're the prettiest millstone I've ever had around my neck. Good night now. Sleep well.
Todd?
Yes?
Who is Margot?
Margot? Margot who?
Just Margot. Who is she?
I don't know. I mean, why do you ask?
Nothing.
You must have a reason.
No. It's nothing. Good night.
Good night, dear.
A friend. No name. It's just signed a friend.
Oh, now this is getting to be... May I see that letter, Claudia? Thank you. Dear Claudia Hammond, you don't know me, we've never met, but I happen to know that your husband and a woman named Margot, he has been seeing for months now, plan to kill you. Oh, really?
Now, read the rest of it.
Guard yourself. Be careful what you eat. Above all, don't take any of the tonic your doctor prescribed unless you trust the person who gives it to you. Signed, a friend.
Mary, I'm scared.
You have nothing to worry about as long as I'm here. I feed you. I give you your tonic, and I take care of you. So what do you have to fear?
What about your day off?
Well, Mrs. Gates comes in then, and you can certainly trust her.
Oh, I don't know.
All right then. I won't take any days off.
But you can't.
Of course I can. At least until this whole silly, stupid thing is cleared up. And believe me, Claudia, that is what it is. It's silly and stupid.
I wish I could believe you.
Claudia, please.
I want Mary back. Get Mary back, Todd.
Dearest, I told you it's impossible.
I don't believe it. I don't.
Now stop that. Stop it.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. But you can't go on letting your emotions run away with you. It could kill you.
It could.
You know it could. Now calm down and listen. Mary came to me this morning and said she had the offer of another job, nurse companion to an elderly and wealthy woman. I asked her what salary she'd be paid, hoping that I might meet it. But I couldn't. It's 3 times what we're paying her. And I can't...
I don't care. I want Mary.
Honey, I'm sorry, but you just can't have Mary.
Tell her I want to see her. I'll talk to her. I'll persuade her.
You can't talk to her. She's gone.
Gone?
She left an hour ago.
Left? Without saying goodbye?
She said to tell you she couldn't bear to face you.
Oh, I can't believe this. I simply can't.
Look, the world hasn't caved in. Mary was good. But there are other practical nurses. In fact, I'm going to run over to the agency right now to interview several.
Leaving me alone?
You're safe enough for an hour or so. You've been left alone before.
Never as alone as I am now.
What?
Nothing.
I won't be more than an hour, I promise.
What are you doing?
Giving you your tonic before I go.
No.
Sweetheart, you've got to take it.
No, I said no.
Okay. Won't hurt you to skip it for once. It isn't exactly a matter of life and death.
Isn't it? Who's there? Who's there, I say?
Don't be scared, Claudia. It's only me.
Oh, Mary.
Yes, I saw Mr. Hammond leave and took the chance. He forgot to ask me for my key.
But, Mary, why have you come back? Todd said you didn't want to see me. Didn't want to say goodbye because it would upset me.
Oh, now, why would I say anything like that? How could I possibly upset you more than he did by firing me?
He fired you?
Well, yes. Why do you think I left? Claudia, what did he tell you?
That you had a better offer with some wealthy woman or other and that he couldn't afford to keep you as my nurse.
I see.
Mary, what is this?
Oh, honey, there was no offer of another job. He fired me. He told me to pack my things and get out and never come back.
Then he's getting ready to...
Now, it looks that way. But I'm going to call the police.
The police?
There's no other way. With me out of the house, you need protection.
But what can the police do? There's no proof Todd means to kill me.
There are the letters. You still have them, don't you?
Yes. But do you think they're enough, those letters, to convince the police? Won't they think what you sought at first? Crank letters?
Very likely, but they're all we have. Now, you keep them until I need them. And I'd better leave. He could come back any minute. Oh, here. I wrote it out for you. It's my telephone number. And you call me. You just call me anytime you need me.
Oh, Mary, I can't let you go.
I know, honey. I don't want to go. But we have no choice. But don't you worry. You are going to come out of this. Believe me.
Question is, will I come out of it alive?
Hi, darling. Here I am, bag and baggage.
Come in, sweetie. I'll show you your room. Mary's former room.
You got rid of her, I take it.
Fired her this morning.
Good.
But I told Claudia she'd left for another job, one that paid better. So careful you don't give the show away.
You don't have to worry about me, darling.
No, but just be careful what you do or say. The last thing we want is Claudia getting suspicious.
Leave it to me.
Well, this'll be your room.
Nice.
And now, I'll introduce you to Claudia. Oh, did you decide on a name?
How does Catherine Brent suit you?
Not bad. Okay, let's put this show on the road. Catherine?
Trust, as I said, is both strong and delicate. I might also have said that it can be misplaced. As it virtually goes without saying, Claudia misplaced hers. It's a mistake to misplace one's trust. A serious, indeed a dangerous mistake. For Claudia, it may be the last mistake she'll ever make. I'll return shortly with Act 2. Our theme is trust. Abiding faith of one person in the honesty of another. Yet who of us has not at one time or another been duped by a person in whom we reposed complete confidence? Or did we dupe ourselves? Did our very faith in another place too much of a burden on him or her? In sum, did we have the right to impose our trust on another?
Claudia, this is Catherine Brent, your new nurse. She's replacing Mary.
Hello, Mrs. Hammond. I'm delighted to meet you.
Well, aren't you going to say hello to Catherine?
Hello, Catherine.
I'll leave the two of you to get acquainted. Got to get to the theater. We're rehearsing a new second lead for tonight's performance. Goodbye, sweetheart. Take good care of her, Mark. Catherine.
Trust me, Mr. Hammond. I mean to take very good care of her. Well, now, Mrs. Hammond, what can I do for you?
You can leave me alone.
Very well. But there are some things I must do. See that you take your meals, your tonic. Oh, by the way, where is it? Your tonic. Oh, never mind, I see. This bottle here. And it's just about time for you to have it.
I don't want it.
Oh, tastes bad. Well, does it?
No.
Well, then why don't you want it?
Don't you know?
I'm not a mind reader, Mrs. Hammond.
Neither am I. But I can read yours.
Well, in that case, you must know that I intend to give you your tonic whether you want it or not.
You can't force me to take it.
True.
Well, then?
I said I intended to give it to you whether you wanted it or not. I didn't say that I'd succeed.
Clever, aren't you?
Matter of fact, I am. Yes.
I'm impressed. Does it help you, your cleverness, to steal other women's husbands?
I beg your pardon?
You heard me, Catherine.
Well, it must taste bad. That's it, isn't it? Won't answer? Well, find out for myself. Well, it doesn't taste bad. Tastes rather like a nice red wine. You sure you won't change your mind?
You drank some.
Oh, I hope you don't mind. Just a small glassful.
Oh.
Here now, won't you? That's it. That's better.
What?
Well, looks like I succeeded, after all.
You are clever. Very clever.
And thank you, Dr. Stein. Thank you very much. Good night. Well, you heard what he said, Claudia.
Yes?
If you continue to refuse to eat, to drink, to take the tonic, you'll find yourself in such a weakened state that I don't know what'll happen to you.
I'll die. That's what you want, isn't it? Well, don't just stare at me. It is what you want.
Sweetheart, Dr. Stein said, he said if you don't keep your strength up, you'd begin to think all kinds of crazy things, delusions like that. And, well, damn it, sweetheart, I'm beginning to think you are.
It's no delusion. You do want me to die, to put me out of the way.
Claudia.
And I don't blame you. How could I? I mean, look at me. An invalid, so weak I can't even leave this bed. A useless woman. A useless wife.
Oh, Claudia.
You think I don't know how it must be for you? You're a man. Not just any man, but a Broadway star who could have any woman he wanted. And all you've got is me.
All I want is you.
Don't lie to me. Oh, please don't do that. I couldn't bear that. You remember our promise to each other?
Promise?
You don't remember. And it isn't so long ago. We were so in love then. So in love. We promised we would trust each other. We sat in that little garden by the side of St. Bartholomew's Church on Park Avenue.
Oh, yes. I remember the promise now.
Have you kept it? Have you?
Claudia, you're weak. You're worn out.
Have you?
What are you doing to me? To yourself?
Have you?
Claudia. Claudia!
Pop, what is it? What's that?
Another heart seizure, I think.
Phone Dr. Stein.
He's not back in his office yet.
Phone anyhow. Get it on record that you phoned.
Yes.
Yes?
You decent? Can I come in?
Decent? You have got to be kidding, darling.
Stein just left.
And?
She'll be all right for a time. But he made it plain if she goes on refusing to eat, to take the tonic, It's curtains for her.
So?
What do you mean, so?
Just what I say. So. I'm sorry, Todd.
If she hadn't been ill all these months, if I hadn't had needs, a man's needs,
You'd have had no need for me. Is that what you're saying?
I guess maybe it is.
I thought I was something more than the fulfillment of your needs. I thought... never mind. If you want out, you say so. You say so now.
It isn't as simple as that.
It is to me. You're putting me through a hell of a time. The deal isn't worth it.
Oh?
Todd, I'm still willing to go through with this. But I just as soon get out right now. What do you want me to do?
We'll go ahead with things. Claudia, dearest, it's a simple, clear broad.
Oh.
You're wasting away.
Well, if you're so worried, let me go to a hospital.
Why in heaven's name a hospital?
You know why.
Claudia, I don't. Why a hospital? What difference would that make?
At least I could eat without fear.
Fear of what? Hello. Oh, yes, Dr. Stein. No, she's still refusing. Oh, I don't know. Doctor, she wants to go back to the hospital. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the way I see it, too, but... Yes. All right, Doctor. And thanks very much for calling.
What did he say? Can I go back to the hospital?
No.
No?
He doesn't see what good that would do. He said it's simply a matter of your taking food, the tonic, to build up your strength. And if you refuse to do that here...
You're lying.
Claudia...
He said no such thing. You want to keep me here. You and Margot.
Margot?
Oh, don't act as if you didn't know.
But I don't.
Hope I'm not interrupting. I just came to see if Claudia had taken her broth.
No.
Oh, now, look, Claudia, I am knocking myself out trying to take care of you, and that includes cooking. And, sweetie, if you're not going to eat, I'd just as soon not cook.
Don't, then. Don't cook. What does it matter how you kill me? By poison or starvation, just so you do it.
Kill you?
Claudia, what in heaven's name are you saying?
You know what I'm saying. The two of you.
Oh, Claudia. I said this before, but I'm saying it again. You're imagining things.
Am I? I'll show you. I've got them here on my pillow.
Oh, Claudia, don't exert yourself. Whatever it is, I'll get it for you.
Get away from me.
Darling.
I'll get it. Here. I'm imagining things, am I? Is this letter a dream? And this?
Let me see.
Oh, no, you don't get your hands on them. They're the only evidence I've got of what you're up to.
Evidence?
It's all here in this letter you sent Todd, but he never got because it was mixed up in my mail. I'm sure you'll remember it. Todd, dearest, of course I love you as deeply, passionately as you love me. And you're right. Claudia does stand between us. So, dearest heart, I've changed my mind. I will go along with your plan to put her out of the way. Signed, Margot. Well, what do you have to say now, Margot?
You think that I am the woman who wrote that letter? That I am Margot?
That's incredible. I had no idea, none whatever, that this was why you were refusing to eat or drink. Oh, Claudia, sweetheart, darling, whatever you've been thinking is wrong. You're wrong. You're all wrong.
You're certainly wrong about me. My name is not Margot.
It isn't Catherine either. Well, is it?
Well, of course it is.
No.
Todd.
No. It isn't. Catherine isn't her name, Claudia. It's Margaret. Margaret Sutton.
Margaret Sutton? Well, you must think I was born yesterday.
Claudia, believe me.
I saw Margaret Sutton on the stage often enough. She was slim and dark, and this woman is... She's...
All right, say it, darling. A fat peroxide blonde. I'm afraid I've got a bigger appetite than you.
If this woman is Margaret Sutton, why did you say her name was Catherine Brent?
I thought it would be best not to remind you of the past. You were so jealous in the early years of our marriage. I never dared even mention Margaret's name.
What is she doing here? Why did you replace Mary with her?
I needed someone I could trust to take care of you.
Well, if you needed someone you could trust, why did you fire Mary?
I told you. Mary had the offer of a better job.
That's a lie. Mary told me you fired her. You did, didn't you?
Well, since it's all coming out, I guess you'll have to know.
You fired her.
Yes.
Why?
Claudia, I don't want to hurt you. I know how fond you were of Mary.
And always will be. She was the most devoted, dedicated person I've ever known.
No, Claudia. It was all an act. The simple truth is that Mary was in love with me.
In love? With you?
Almost from the first day she entered this house, she started doing everything she could do to, get me to fall in love with her.
If you expect me to believe...
I don't expect you to believe it. But what I'm telling you now is the truth. Things went from bad to worse over the months. She got more and more difficult to handle, and finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I fired her. Claudia, that is the truth.
Go away and leave me alone.
Claudia, look at me. I swear I'm telling you the truth this time.
Leave me alone, please. Please leave me alone.
Better do what she wants, Todd. Or she could die right now. Come on. I've got to hand it to you, Todd. I always knew you were a good actor, but not that good.
I told her the truth.
But not all of the truth. By no means the whole truth.
What is the whole truth? What game are these two playing with Claudia as the pawn? Todd has lied to Claudia again and again. What lie or half-truth has he told her this time? I'll return shortly with Act 3. The very foundation stone of trust is truth. Accordingly, since Todd Hammond has lied to his wife Claudia repeatedly, she can scarcely be expected to trust him. So far as I'm concerned, she'd be a fool if she did. Apparently, she feels as I do, for as we rejoin her now, a helpless invalid, trapped in her bedroom, we find her telephoning the police.
Detective Bureau, Detective Jackson.
This is Claudia Hammond.
Claudia?
Hammond. Hammond.
Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you?
My husband and a woman he's in love with, are trying to kill me. I need your help. Please, I need help.
Certainly, ma'am. We'll give you all the help we can. Who is your husband?
Todd Hammond. Todd Hammond, the actor?
Yeah, sure. You say he's trying to kill you. Him and this woman.
Yes, yes.
And what's her name?
She's trying to palm herself off as an actress named Margaret Sutton, but I know better. Her real name is Margot.
Margot who?
I don't know. I'm an invalid, helpless and bedridden, and he wants to get rid of me.
How's he trying to do this? What's he doing?
He's poisoning my food, everything I drink.
Are you on any kind of pills like that?
You think I'm high on pills? That I'm imagining things?
No, ma'am, I didn't say that. Maybe just a little excited, a little hysterical?
I'm not uptight. I'm not hysterical. I'm telling you the truth. They're trying to kill me. Hello?
What's your address, ma'am?
1219 Park.
Apartment house?
Yes.
Apartment number?
Penthouse B.
Okay, we'll check this out. In fact, I'll check it out personally.
What do you mean you check it out? Oh, there's nothing to check out. They're trying to kill me, Todd and Margot. Only she doesn't call herself Margaret. She calls herself Margaret Sutton. And I can prove it. I tell you, I can prove it. I've got the letters to prove it.
Letters?
A letter. from her to him, saying she was willing to help him kill me, and another letter from a friend warning me against them.
What friend? What's your friend's name?
You don't believe me.
I didn't say I don't believe you.
I shouldn't have called. I should have known I'd only be wasting my time. I should have known you wouldn't believe me. Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Mary. Mary, of course. Why didn't I think of her before this?
Hello?
Mary. Mary. This is Claudia.
Oh, Claudia, I've been so worried about you, but I didn't dare phone you.
Yes. Listen to me. It's happening. What the two of them planned, Todd and Margot. She replaced you, and he pretended she was a nurse from the agency. He lied. Even gave her a different name. Called her Catherine Brent, and then... Well, you won't believe this. You really won't believe it. She tried to palm her off with an old flame of his, Margaret Sutton, who was slim and dark, and this woman, this Margot, she's fat and...
Claudia.
Yes?
Now, you must control yourself, dear.
Yes.
Because of your heart. You're putting a terrible strain on your heart.
Yes. I'll quiet down.
That's my girl.
Mary!
Now, hush. Just listen to me. They're not going to harm you, because I'm not going to let them.
The police?
Yes, I went to the police as I said I would, but I could see that they didn't take me seriously.
No, me neither. I was just talking to them. And
What is it? Is there something wrong?
if you can't send the books over today, then send them when you can. Goodbye.
Bookstore?
Yes.
You ordered some books. I'll be happy to go and get them for you if they can't send them over today.
Do you dare let me out of your sight?
Just to go around the corner? 10 minutes at most. Which is why I don't understand how they can't deliver today. Who were you talking to, Claudia?
That's none of your business.
Suit yourself. Oh. That'll be Dr. Stein, I guess.
Dr. Stein?
He's going to give you your vitamin injections. Oh, and, darling, don't waste your time telling him Todd and I are killing you. He thinks you're off your rocker as it is.
You were supposed to monitor all her calls, but you let her phone the police.
I'm sorry, Todd, but even you will have to agree I have only 2 hands, 2 eyes, and 2 ears. I can't be everywhere and do everything at once.
A detective coming to see me backstage.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess it's not that important. What's important is not to let her get in touch with Mary. Or Mary with her.
What happened with the detective?
He didn't believe her, of course. Just checking up was all. But she did manage to get past you, and that worries me. Mary could start an awful lot of trouble. And that's the last thing in the world I need right now.
Take the phone out of her bedroom.
No. We don't have to go that far. There's an easier way. Just take this extension off the hook.
You're kidding.
No, it was a gimmick used in a play I was in years ago. That way she can't call out and nobody can phone in. But watch her. Watch her like a hawk. One slip up in it. It could mean the end. Believe me, the end.
Mary's number now. Where is it? Ah, here. Funny. Something's wrong. Oh, no. They're taking the phone off the extension. Oh, it's like in that play he was in. I can't phone out, and nobody can phone in. Oh, God. God, help me. Please. I don't want to die. Please. Oh, please. I want to live. Could I possibly? What time? 10:35. He won't be back from the theater till after 11. And she's... I'll take my chances. If I can only get out of bed. Walk. Crawl if I have to. Everything's swimming. Dizzy. your life. Now, step. Open the door. Quietly. The living room. The phone was... Yes. On that last table. They took the phone off the hook. Reach down. Over the face. One more step. Only one. Oh, dear Lord, no. Oh, put my phone back. Hang on. Put this one back on the hook and then get back to my... bedroom. Now, just one step.
What in the name of Claudia? Todd, you can't help her. Sitting here by her bedside all night, it does no good. You've got a matinee. I'll sit with her.
You're dead on your feet, too. Dead. What a word to use now.
She isn't dead, and she may not die.
No. She lost so much blood. Wrists cut when she crashed through that table. So much blood they didn't dare move her to a hospital. And now look at her. White as a sheet.
Go and get some sleep, Todd. I'll stay with her. And Todd...
Yes?
Forget the deal.
I don't get you.
I agreed to play nurse because you needed somebody you could trust. You know something, darling? You trusted the wrong woman. You wanted me to protect her against Mary. And I said, okay. In exchange for that character lead in your new film. But you know what I was really after, Todd?
Oh, no. Not you. Not after all these years.
Afraid so. I'm a woman. I love you. Enough not to envy you your happiness with her.
I love you, too. But I love her a hell of a lot more.
Claudia? Claudia?
Mary?
Shh. Now listen, dear. They're asleep. He in his room and her in that chair. I still have my key.
Oh, Mary, you came at last.
Shh. Now quiet, dear. I'm going to take you down in the service elevator. I jammed the door. And then into my car and home to my place. Where you'll be safe, honey. Really safe. Now, can you walk?
I can't even get up.
Oh, dear. And I can't carry you. Honey, you've got to find the strength to walk. The tonic. I'll give you a glass of the tonic. That always gave you quick strength.
No, it's poison.
Oh, no. They wouldn't have dared to do that. If they succeeded in poisoning you, the coroner would have impounded the bottle. No, they'd have poisoned the glass, not the bottle. Here, now you drink this right down.
Yes.
No.
Awake. You're awake.
You bet I'm awake. And waiting for you. I've been waiting for you to give yourself away. So Mr. Hammond and I could turn you over to the police with the evidence to convict you.
Evidence to convict me? You're crazy. She's crazy. This woman's crazy.
Claudia, Todd told you the truth about Mary being insanely in love with him.
What?
Of propositioning him, the whole scene. Todd put up with her insane nonsense till she said something one day that made him realize she intended, one way or another, to kill you.
Oh, you're lying. That isn't true. It can't be true. Not of Mary.
It's all too true of Mary. And I can prove it. By what Mary just told you.
What? What did Mary just tell me?
That if Todd and I wanted to kill you, we'd not have risked poisoning the bottle of tonic. Only the glass.
What?
Well, I never poisoned the bottle. And so I'll drink it straight off. There.
You drank the whole bottle.
quite delicious and healthy.
So you drank it. What does that prove?
It proves that what you poured into the glass, Mary, could not have been poisoned unless you slipped the poison into the glass, which you did.
No, I did not.
In that case, Mary, drink the glass.
Well, go on, Mary. Drink it.
Mary.
I hate you. I have always hated you, you sniveling little invalid. A man like him needing a woman, needing a wife, the kind of wife that I could have been. That's why I wrote those letters, to prepare you for the death that you had coming to you, and to play it smart. Yes, smart. Because if anything had gone wrong, he would have been blamed for your murder, not me.
You're crazy.
I am not crazy.
She's stupid, too.
John!
Stupid? I was stupid?
That letter from a friend. Only 4 people knew Claudia took that tonic. Claudia, Dr. Stein, me, and you. Marge, call the police, will you?
Trust. Truth. Trust, it would seem, can be many things, or at least a thing of infinite variety. As for truth, well, the evidence seems clear that one man's truth is another man's lie. The answer to this complexity? Surely the answer lies in the complexity of you, of me, of all mankind. Where else? I'm sure you'll want to know that Claudia is now fully recovered from her illness and that she and Todd are very happy together. As for Margaret Sutton, would you believe that the role she played in Todd's film revived her acting career? Well, it did. Our cast included Nina Foch, Charles Aidman, Leslie Woods, Joan Tompkins, and Joe DeSantis. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
Friendly music station, KIXI, dial 91 AM, Seattle.
CBS News, energy and the price of oil were the subjects of discussion on two sides of the world Wednesday evening. I'm Jim Kilpatrick reporting on the CBS radio network. President Ford journeyed to Philadelphia to address a Republican fundraising dinner. He plugged his economic plan and emphasized again the need for U.S. self-sufficiency in the field of energy.
If we are to grasp successfully the problems of energy, we have to do something affirmatively to find other sources. We have to develop and produce those resources at home, whether it's oil or coal or geothermal or solar or any one of the other alternatives, nuclear included, that will be a substitute. So we cannot be held up by others who come from lands across the oceans.
President Ford speaking Wednesday evening in Philadelphia. Across the ocean, Secretary of State Kissinger is meeting with leaders in the Middle East. Marvin Kalb reports from Cairo.
The Ford administration is hoping to reduce fuel imports by as much as 18% this coming year. That is a cut of 1 million barrels of imported crude oil a day. The U.S. imports a bit less than 6 million barrels a day, a third of which comes from the Arab oil-producing nations. Secretary Kissinger did not come here to discuss the high price of oil, but it would be surprising indeed if the topic did not come up during his current swing through the Middle East. Part of America's policy now is to restrict food shipments to those countries which harm the United States by restricting fuel exports or charging too much for them. This is a highly selective and delicate diplomatic program. A basic part of Kissinger's policy is to organize the consuming nations into a cooperative unit able to defend their interests against the oil producers. He hopes to complete this process sometime before next March. Marvin Count, CBS News, Cairo.
More after this. Time Magazine. What's in it for you this week?
Cover story. Gerald Ford trying to fight back. What the administration proposes as solutions to America's three biggest problems: inflation, recession, and the price of oil.
A nationwide report on how big the problem really is.
Why it may get worse.
And which of the president's programs seems most promising.
Time also looks into who is hurting and who is not, as inflation and economic stagnation hit nearly every family.
And in the economy, Time reports on what might happen if the countries that use oil could unite as solidly as the countries that produce it.
In the world, a first-hand look at life under Cuban socialism.
In behavior, a character study of Lyndon Baines Johnson by a young psychohistorian who once worked at the White House.
And in art, new knowledge about one of the most enigmatic geniuses in history, Leonardo da Vinci.
It's all there in Time.
Pick up a copy today.
For Time makes everything more interesting,
including you.
Nelson Rockefeller has agreed to supply a written explanation of financial gifts he has made to aides and public figures. The Senate Rules Committee may reopen Rockefeller's vice presidential confirmation hearings after the November election. More on the Rockefeller gifts from Connie Chung.
Last Christmas, Nelson Rockefeller gave Steuben glass figurines costing a total of more than $32,000 to members of the National Commission on Water Quality. Rockefeller is chairman of the 14-member commission, which includes 5 senators, 5 representatives, and 4 public members. A spokesman for Rockefeller described the figurine as a trout leaping out of a mountain brook to catch a fly. Each costs $2,300. Some of the senators concerned about any appearance of impropriety gave their gifts away. One senator said he saw nothing wrong with the gift, but he said, "It's just that Rockefeller gives Steuben glass the way others give away neckties." Connie Chung, CBS News, Washington.
The 7 guerrillas who gave up the Venezuelan consulate in Santo Domingo and released their hostages have arrived in Panama. The guerrillas were picked up by a bus when they left the plane. It is not known where they were taken. The freed hostages are reported in good condition in Santo Domingo. More after this.
You've seen the Budweiser commercials on television, and maybe you've wondered how long people have been putting that famous Bud label on things. Well, not as long as the brewers of Bud have been putting things on the label. Things like a list of Bud's most important ingredients. Quote, brewed by our original process from the choicest hops, rice, and best barley malt. And things like the following statement. This is the famous Budweiser beer. We know of no brand produced by any other brewer which costs so much to brew and age. Our exclusive Beechwood aging produces a taste, a smoothness, and a drinkability you'll find in no other beer at any price. Unquote. Yes, brewing beer right does make a difference. Read the Bud label. Taste the king of beers, and you'll agree, when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
Massachusetts Governor Sargent has ordered 400 extra policemen into Boston after a federal judge refused to send U.S. Marshals. 300 state police and 100 district officers were ordered to aid in quelling disturbances related to court-ordered busing to achieve integration. The action comes after another day of disturbances in the city, mainly in the predominantly black Roxbury section of Boston. I'm Jim Kilpatrick, CBS News.
For the first time in history, the World Series will be played entirely on the West Coast. The Oakland Athletics Wednesday became the American League champions, and the Los Angeles Dodgers won the National League crown. They'll meet for Game 1 in the series Saturday afternoon in Los Angeles. Oakland got the American League crown by coming out on top in the playoff series with the Baltimore Orioles. The A's clinched it Wednesday with a 2-1 victory over the Orioles. The Dodgers likewise won their playoff series, embarrassing the Pittsburgh Pirates with a 12-1 victory. This is Doug Poling, CBS News.
I'm E.G. Marshall. The shot of accident, the dart of chance, how well we know them, from legend and from life. Who aims the shot? Who throws the dart? Who rolls the dice? Who spins the wheel? Who hurls the bolt? Someone? Anyone? No one? Our mystery drama, The Instrument, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Ralph Bell. His name is Anthony Warlock, and he has long ago stopped trying to convince people that it's his real name, the name he was born with. That parish records in Cornwall and Devon show Warlocks going way back to the late 1200s. The problem is that the name is too fortuitous because Anthony Warlock happens to be a writer who specializes in mysteries, mostly of a supernatural or occult nature. For 20 years now, Anthony Warlock has been writing his cryptic novels and short stories filled with mysticism and symbolism. But it has suddenly occurred to him that the most mysterious of all worlds is not one that he may conjure in his imagination, but this one, the world he lives in.
Tony?
Just this last sentence, Ruthie. Yes. Listen, Ruth. And now he gazed upon the face of death. The dark face of death. It was a face of compassion and kindness. Suddenly he understood that death was not the villain, but the hero of the drama. Death, the healer of sorrows. Death had come not to take, but to give rest and joy and peace everlasting. How'd you like that?
It's all right.
All right.
Oh, I can buy death bringing rest and peace everlasting. But joy?
Well, I needed that speech rhythm. Da, 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 da.
Well, find another da-da.
Yeah. What time is it?
1 minute to 8, exactly. And you better be out of that door in 5 seconds.
I'm all ready. I'm wearing my sneakers, my sweatshirt. Here I go. I'll start at 8 on the head, as usual.
Going to try to beat your record?
No. I'll do my usual mile in 4 minutes, 32 seconds. How many men of 42 can even run a mile?
All right, move.
I'll be at Fielding's 4.5 minutes from now on the dot. Do you want anything?
Oh, just the morning paper.
All right.
Oh, that has to be for you, Tony.
Oh, damn it.
Nobody I know is up this early in the morning. Now go for your run. Whoever it is can call back later.
No. It has to be Harrison. I better talk to him. Hello. Yes, I thought it was you, Dick. Well, they give me an advance on it. Oh? Well, it's not all that much money, but if they'll spend something on promotion... I have an agent. His name is Dick Harrison. He was very excited. He said he had a new publisher lined up, and he couldn't wait to talk to me about it. We were on the phone for an hour with a great many details that I'm sure would be of no interest to you. And finally, I was able to hang up.
Well, what's up?
I'm not sure.
What'd he say?
Now that I think about it, not very much.
But surely he had a reason for calling.
Oh, it was a typical Dick Harrison reason. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Perchance.
It's possible.
On the other hand...
But it all adds up to nada. Garnished. Nothing.
Oh, I don't know. There's a needle somewhere in that haystack.
Poor Dick. He has to keep proving he's really out there fighting for you. Why don't you change agents?
No, I don't know. I'm used to Dick.
But he never does anything for you.
But I'm used to the way he never does anything.
Tony.
I can't go around breaking in new agents at my time of life.
But what has Dick Harrison ever done for you?
Hey, how about a cup of coffee, huh?
Don't you want to go out and run?
Oh, it's after 8. I missed the timing. Say, did you hear a noise back there while I was on the phone?
I'm not sure. I was so busy trying to make sense of your conversation. I may have.
It sounded like an explosion.
An explosion? Yes, I think so.
I wonder what it was.
Well, it could have been anything.
Well, bring in that cup of coffee, and I'll keep going till lunch.
If you're not careful, you'll actually finish that book on schedule.
Yes, I'm getting into some bad habits in my old age. I placed a fresh sheet of paper in the typewriter. I began to write. The words started to come slowly. The ideas seemed fuzzy and ill-formed. My mind wandered from the story. It bothered me. This is the way you feel when you're not sure of where you're going, but I had this particular story well under control. I knew exactly where I was headed and how I proposed to get there. Furthermore, I liked this story and how I was doing it. Should have been clear sailing, but for some reason, my mind had gone completely blank. I don't know how long I just sat there and gazed at the empty paper.
Tony?
Huh?
Something wrong?
Wrong?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, I haven't heard that typewriter in over an hour.
Well, I guess I must have been daydreaming.
Oh, you generally don't run out of steam in the morning.
It must be a sign of advancing age.
You know something, Tony? You seem to be on an age kick this morning.
Oh, is that so?
Yes. A review of your conversation. You began by asking how many men of 42 could even run a mile.
So?
And then when I said something about getting a new agent, you replied you didn't care to break in another one at this time of life.
Well, I'll say one thing for you. You really listen.
And then you said you were getting into some bad habits in your old age. And just now, you mentioned advancing age.
I didn't realize you were keeping score.
So, Tony?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe I just realized I'm 42.
Oh, 42 isn't old.
No, but 42 isn't 22. Not by a long shot.
Would you like to be 22 all over again?
Would you?
Why never think about things that can't happen? Tony, something wrong?
Yes, I suppose something is.
Well, what?
Everything.
Everything? I see. Does that include you and
No,
me?
no. We're all right. It's just... Well, I just don't think I'm going anywhere.
Oh, is this going to be the what did I do with my life lament?
Do you ever look at yourself in the mirror?
Oh, constantly.
Don't you ever ask, what am I doing here? Where am I going?
I know where I'm going.
I am the product of 800 years of warlocks. More than 30 generations. And now the line comes to an end. In me.
I'm sorry, Tony.
What was it all for?
I don't know.
Sir Roderick Warlock died fighting for Edward I. John Warlock fought with Henry IV. Sir Ronald Warlock almost saved Charles I from Cromwell. James Warlock was a master gunner under John Paul Jones.
Darling, I am completely aware of the magnificent exploits of your illustrious family on both sides of the Atlantic.
My father died at Pearl Harbor. My grandfather... Well, all I can say is everybody in my family's been a soldier, a sailor, an explorer, an adventurer. I'm the only sit-at-home, the only writer. And not really very much of a writer.
Oh, now, Tony, that isn't true. You're quite a writer.
Oh, yes? What have I written? Scary little ghost stories?
I don't think that's being fair to yourself.
Mysterious nonsense about what? The occult, the supernatural.
And who says it's nonsense?
I say it's nonsense.
Oh, we really are having a bad morning, aren't we? And what brought it on?
Oh, how do I know?
Tony, I said I was sorry.
About what?
Well, you know about what. I know what your family name means. It's going to die with you because I can't...
No. I don't want to hear any more about that. Ruthie, I'll tell you what bothers me. The fact that I'm a nobody.
But you're not.
I have a small talent. I have a small success. I've led a small life. I'll be buried in a small grave.
Everybody gets buried in a small grave, relatively speaking.
Let's play tennis.
Good. Now, you've had your outburst for the year.
Yeah, I suppose so. Look, Ruthie, about kids.
I stand ready at any time to give you your option.
I love you, Ruth. So please, let's never talk about it again, huh? Oh, incidentally, call Fieldings for me. Ask him to save me the paper since I didn't pick it up this morning.
All right.
We'll have lunch at the club, and, you want to get in 9 holes this afternoon?
Oh, sure. What a difficult life you lead. Tennis, lunch, golf.
I work hard, too.
That's funny.
What's funny?
Fieldings doesn't seem to answer.
Well, he has to answer.
Well, maybe he's closed.
Why would he be closed? Oh, you shouldn't have hung up. Maybe he's waiting on a customer.
But you know how he hates the sound of a ringing phone.
Well, why didn't he answer?
Hey, I thought we were going to play tennis.
Well, let's stop off at Fielding's on the way to the club and get the papers. Say, what's that smell?
Smell?
As if something was burning.
You know, I think you're right.
Where could it be coming from?
You know, while you were on the phone before, I thought I heard fire engines. Must be a big one going so... Tony, look out the window, smoke.
Hey, that's coming from just over the rise, toward town. It's kind of thick, very black.
Well, what could be on fire?
Let's find out. We got into the car and headed toward the village. As soon as we passed the bend in the road, we saw what it was. Thick black smoke was rising from the small clump of stores that made up the shopping center at Crosby Corners. All the fire equipment was out, and the sheriff's patrol car was diverting traffic. There seemed to be wreckage of some sort scattered all over the road. And then I immediately recognized it for what it was. A broken fuselage, the shattered wings of an airplane. Sheriff Pomeroy was directing traffic.
You're not coming any closer, Mr. Warlock. Make a detour right here.
Well, what happened, Sheriff?
Well, you can see one of them small jets, private plane, come down and crashed right into Fielding's.
Oh, good Lord.
Anybody hurt?
Yeah, 3 people on the plane, old man Fielding's, and some lady, we can't identify her, must have been one of the summer people.
Oh.
Dead?
Yeah.
Tony, look.
What do you want me to look at?
The clock. The electric clock in Fielding's window. In what's left of Fielding's window. You see, it stopped when the plane hit.
That's right, Miss Warlock. Exactly 4 minutes after 8.
4.5 minutes after 8. See? See where the second hand is? Exactly 32 seconds after. Oh, Tony.
Aren't you feeling well, Miss Warlock? You, better get her out of here. This place, it, ain't a pretty sight.
Dorothy? You want to, stop somewhere, have a drink?
No. Oh, Tony, do you realize what happened this morning?
Yes.
Every day of the year, rain or shine, you leave the house at exactly 8 a.m. You run a mile to Fielding's in exactly 4 minutes and 32 seconds.
I know.
And so at 4.5 minutes after 8, you're always standing in front of Fielding's. You've already picked up your newspaper off the stand, and you're looking at the headlines. That's what you do every morning.
Yes.
But this morning, you were about to leave. And at the last split second, you stopped. You didn't go. Oh, Tony, is there a reason? An explanation?
Are you perhaps waiting for me to explain it? Well, at this point, I don't know. And even if I did, I certainly wouldn't tell you this early in the story. So I shall be back in just a few moments with Act 2, at which time we may find the answer, and then again, we may not. Man, we are told, is a creature of habit. And surely Tony Warlock is no exception. Every morning, Tony runs a mile from his home to the general store in the village. He arrives there promptly at 4.5 minutes after 8. You can set your watch by him. Well, this morning, for the first time in years, Tony was delayed. And at 4.5 minutes after 8, a plane crashed into the store. Had Tony been standing in his usual place at his usual time? But he wasn't. And the question that runs through his mind is, why? Why wasn't I on this morning of all mornings? Why?
It's a miracle, darling. It's a miracle.
Of course, it's a miracle. But that doesn't answer the question. Why was I saved? 5 people are dead. The 3 in the plane, Mr. Fielding's, and a woman named Mrs. Jane Gray. Why was I saved? The people in the plane died because their aircraft underwent some malfunction. Mr. Fielding's and Mrs. Gray, they just happened to be there. I should have been there, too. Why wasn't I? Why was I saved?
Because Dick Harrison called you at exactly 8 a.m., the split second you were about to leave.
Suppose I had listened to you, Ruthie, and fired him and got myself a new agent. He never would have called me. And I would have...
Let this be a lesson to you. Never listen to me.
Oh, no. I should listen to you. You're always right. And I always do listen to you, except in this one case. Dick Harrison. All these years I've stayed with Dick. It's obvious he hasn't done very much for me. He's probably held me back. And yet, for some reason, I never let him go. Why didn't I fire Dick Harrison? Was it because I couldn't, or was it because I would need him to save my life one day? But how would I know that?
I don't know.
Why did he call me this morning? Why?
Why don't you ask him?
Hey, Tony. Oh, I'm sorry I'm late.
It's all right, Dick. I never expect you to be on time.
Oh, it was all in your interest, Tony, baby. I was with this top Hollywood producer. He's crazy about your books. And we're just about ready to talk a deal. This is going to be 6 figures. What brings you in from Rubeville into the big town, huh?
Dick, why did you call me this morning?
Why did I call you this morning?
Yes.
Well, I had this deal.
What deal? There was no deal.
Now, Tony...
Why did you call me?
Well,
Sing me another chorus of the same song and dance you've been giving me for years, is that it?
Now, just a second.
That was why you called me, wasn't it? Just tell me the truth, huh?
Okay, Tony. Maybe it's time you got yourself another agent.
At 1 minute to 8, you picked up your phone.
Tony, look, okay, I saved your life that time at the beach.
You dialed my number.
But you more than paid me back. Look, I get you publishers, but nobody. Well, you couldn't get by yourself, and as far as the biggies are concerned, you know you need an agent with more clout than me.
Why? Why did you dial my number at 8 this morning? Tell me, Dick, tell me.
I said I don't know.
Now think, Dick, think. Was there a reason? Try to remember, huh?
Tony, I'm going to level with you. I'm scared. I've been bad for you, real bad. I've been playing on your sense of loyalty and gratitude. You know what I mean?
I don't care about that. The reason, please.
I got home last night. Must have been 4 this morning. I was with this dame. I tell you something. I must be getting old. Anyhow, I couldn't sleep. I don't know why. I thought about you.
Yes?
For hours, I kept tossing and turning and thinking about you. And
why?
Well, I know what's going on between you and Ruthie as far as I'm concerned. I've been getting a free ride. I know that. And lots of times, maybe my conscience bothers me. Maybe I've been hinting around you could do better elsewhere, but...
But what?
Well, lately, things haven't been breaking too well. I mean, the kind of thing I'm supposed to be good at. You know, singers, actors. I'm losing clients there, too. Today, you got to be a big organization. You have to be able to put packages together.
Now, please, Dick, don't get off the subject, huh?
So I need you, Tony. I really need you.
Dick, just tell me why you called me this morning at 8 o'clock.
Oh, I'm getting older, Tony.
Get to the point, please.
This is the point. Last night, I suddenly realized I'm... You know how old? Guess how old I am. I'm 42. Do you realize that? 42. Me. I'm 42.
42 isn't the end of the world, you know.
It is. If you're going no place. If you haven't made it. If you realize all of a sudden you're never going to make it. Never. What have I got? I ask myself. I got Tony Warlock. That's all I got. And so I got worried. Something said to me...
Yeah?
Something said, call him.
What was that something?
It was just something. It said, call him. Leave him know you're around, that you're in there pitching. And I am, Tony, I am.
What was this something?
Well, how do I know?
Was it a voice?
A voice? No, I didn't hear a voice.
Then what was it?
Well, what does it matter?
I have to know, Dick.
It's a feeling.
Yeah?
It's a feeling. It's in your bones.
What kind of a feeling?
Well, I just knew I'd better go to that phone and dial your number, and... Well, that's all I can tell you.
All right. I guess that's good enough, Dick. I guess that's good enough. It was good enough, and I remembered it had also been good enough once before. 15 years before, when he'd also saved my life. We were at the beach, Ruthie and I. Hey, how about coming in?
No, I don't think so. The surf looks a little rough.
Oh, that's nothing.
Well, there's no lifeguard on duty.
All we're going to do is take a little swim.
No, I don't think we'd better. Well, I'm not.
All right, I'll be right back.
No, Tony, you really shouldn't.
Ruthie, it isn't as if I don't know how to swim. The fact is, I'm a very good swimmer. I ran into the waves and began to move out. The water was cool and refreshing. I could see Ruthie standing at the edge. She looked quite small, waving at me to come back in. I laughed and waved back. By this time, I must have been 100 yards offshore. Finally, I decided I had enough, and I started to swim back. And suddenly, there was a terrible pain in my legs. I was seized by a sudden cramp. My body seemed paralyzed. I realized I should have tried to float. Surely I should have kept my head, but the pain was so intense that a surge of panic seized control of me. I waved my arms wildly. I shouted for help. I gulped in a mouthful of water. I started to go down. Suddenly, hold still. Hold still. Just relax. Don't fight me. I'm drowning. I'm drowning. No, you're not. Now, don't fight me. Just relax. Let go of me. I've got you. Let go. That's it. Now lie still. I'll pull you in.
Oh, how can we ever thank you, Mr.
Harrison. Dick Harrison. I'm sorry I had to sock him.
I don't think I'll ever want to swallow anything again once I live.
Listen, a little drink and you'll be first rate.
Where did you come from?
Where? Well, I just happened to be swimming out there, and you see, I'm just as big a fool as he is, except I didn't get a cramp.
But how did you happen to be out there?
Well, that's a great question. The answer is, I don't know.
Do you come to the beach often?
No. The truth is, I hardly ever come to the beach. I'd much rather swim in a pool.
So, how does it happen you were out there today?
I just had a feeling I wanted to go to the beach.
Well, what kind of a feeling?
Oh, just, there's no way to explain it. I just got a feeling, that's all.
And because of a feeling you can't explain or even understand, I'm alive today. That was how it happened 15 years ago. And that's what had also happened this morning. A feeling, a mysterious feeling, had prompted Dick Harrison to do something. As a result, my life was saved. 2 stark and dramatic instances. In each, death was certain. 15 years ago, I would surely have drowned. This morning, I would have been killed beyond doubt in the flaming wreckage of the plane that destroyed the Fielding store. And as I thought about it, there were other instances, small perhaps, but was it all a part of a pattern?
What are you thinking about, Tony?
The number of times that Dick saved my life.
Oh. Well, the first day we met him at the beach. This morning, of course.
Oh, there were others.
I don't remember others. Twice in 15 years is good enough.
Oh, I remember some years ago. I lent him the car.
Yes?
When he returned it, he said, take it in to be looked at.
Well, I don't remember that.
Well, he checked the brake fluid. It was practically all gone. I had a leak in the master cylinder.
Oh, yes.
I could have stepped on the pedal and discovered the hard way that I had no brakes.
Of course. Suppose we'd have had to make a sudden stop, or we might have been going down a steep hill.
Well, you can write the ending to that little script yourself. But I'll never forget what he said to me that day. Now, thank you, Dick. It's a lucky thing you found out about the brakes.
Yeah, I guess it is.
I'll have to become more like you, Dick.
Oh, in what way?
I'll have to be more careful about a car. Check it out carefully, the way you do.
Well, I'm not careful at all.
Yes, but you actually went to the trouble of checking the brake fluid.
Yeah, and you know something, Tony? I never did a thing like that before.
What are you saying?
Well, I practically never look under the hood.
You don't?
No, I just get in and drive.
What made you do it this time?
I don't know. I just got a feeling. I just got a feeling I better look under the hood. That's all I can tell you. I just got a feeling.
And so here we are in the realm of feelings. But of course, as human beings, it's the only kingdom we know. Although there are those who will deny it, the practical fact is that one weak feeling can overpower 1,000 strong facts. So, we shall now concern ourselves with those things that cannot be proved, but which make up the reality of our lives. A heavy burden. But Act 3 will be equal to that task. I cannot believe, said Albert Einstein, that God chooses to play dice with the universe. But yet, if life is not a game of chance, what is it? It's been likened by some to a song. All right, we can buy that. But even here, is it precisely orchestrated? Or is there room for improvisation? That, you see, is a problem. There's never an answer. Only more questions.
On 3 occasions, Dick Harrison had saved my life. Could these have been accidental interventions? 1, perhaps. 2, maybe. But 3? And these were 3 that came rapidly into mind. Had there been others? Less dramatic, not quite so obvious? Yes. Yes, we had planned a cruise, an around-the-world cruise, some 6 months in advance, on the strength of an assignment Dick was supposed to have gotten for me. I remember the day he came to see me. Oh, Dick, come on in.
Oh, hi, Tony.
Did you bring the contract?
The contract?
For the motion picture rights.
Oh, that contract.
You know, I think I will write the screenplay.
Look, Tony,
I know what the book really should say.
About the contract. Well, there was this problem.
Mm-hmm. Which problem? I thought there were no problems. Everything was set. All I had to do was sign it.
Well, they weren't sure.
What weren't they sure about?
If they wanted to do a book about...
About what?
About, you know, this mystic stuff you write about. Anyhow, the deal's off for a while. I'm sorry. We'll get another one.
Yeah, sure.
I mean it. Oh, you'll see.
I guess I'll have to break the news to Ruthie. She was really looking forward to that cruise.
Well, like I said, Tony, I'm real sorry.
It was for next August. We had the book 6 months in advance. I already sent in the deposit.
Well, you know this business. Who was it that said, there's many a slip between the cup and the lip?
Yeah, but you'd already told me that I was actually drinking.
Well, you know what I believe, Tony. I really and truly believe that everything happens for the best.
I had a hard time convincing myself of that. And an even harder one convincing Ruthie. But after a while, we both forgot about it. It must have been some 6 months later. Ruthie called my attention to a story in the paper.
Look at this, Tony. Fire on cruise ship, the SS Paradise Island, en route to...
Why is that name familiar? Oh, I know. We were supposed to be on that boat.
The SS Paradise Island, that's right.
Anyone hurt?
No. Oh, yes. One person. He died. He was in his cabin. Well, that's all. The only casualty. Died of smoke inhalation. Fire was in a ventilator.
Well, just think. We would have been on that cruise.
Well, the boat got back to normal quickly enough, according to the paper. Another one of Dick Harrison's great triumphs. Why do you stay with him?
I often ask myself the same question.
And what answer do you come up with?
I don't know. That was, 10 years ago? At least. And I'd forgotten all about it. But now I had to find out. We booked passage on that cruise ship, and because of Dick's failure, carelessness, whatever, But because of Dick, we had canceled the trip. And then there had been a fire on the ship. One man had died in his cabin. Just one man. There had been just this one casualty. But one can be enough. If you're the one. I had to be sure.
What are you looking for?
Oh,
all these check stubs and receipts. Oh, my goodness, Tony, don't we ever throw anything away?
Well, why should we?
Why? Because you get all cluttered up with paper.
Would you throw away a drawer full of old snapshots?
Of course not.
Oh, said so? Why not?
Because they tell the story of your life.
So do these old pieces of paper.
But what are you looking for?
Yes. Received from Mr. Anthony Warlock the sum of $100 as a deposit for cabin B37. SS Paradise Island World Cruise leaving New York August 23rd, 19...
Oh, I remember. But why didn't we go? I forget.
Ruthie, I have to go to New York tomorrow.
Oh, but it's so hot.
Well, I have to go to the library.
The library?
It's the only place I can think of to get some special material. I couldn't tell her the real reason I was going in. I'd seen in the paper that the SS Paradise Island was in port, getting ready to sail on another cruise. I had to find out about a certain cabin. I just had to. After I got off the train, I went right to the west side where the Paradise Island was docked. How was I going to find the answer to my question? Anyway, I joined the happy, noisy crowd and walked aboard. I was looking for a crew member, not an officer, but an older person who liked to talk. Well, she found me. An elderly, chubby, good-natured stewardess.
Trying to find your cabin, sir.
Yes, I'm trying to find my friend's cabin. I've been invited to a bon voyage party.
Oh, there's no end of them. What's your friend's cabin number?
Well, no, I don't remember.
Tell me his name. I can look it up on the passenger list.
Well, it's not my friend's cabin exactly. It's his friend's. And he invited me to his friend's party, and I don't know his friend's name.
Well, I suppose you'll just have to search the ship. Hope you find him before we sail.
This is a beautiful ship, isn't it?
Oh, my, yes. I've been with her since she was commissioned 12 years ago. Haven't missed a single trip.
I was on board here, to say farewell to a friend about, must have been 10 years ago.
Were you?
Yes, I remember, because that was the trip she caught fire.
No, she did not. There was a lot of smoke and all, but it was a ventilator problem.
But one of the passengers died, didn't he?
Yeah, poor man. I knew him. I was assigned to his cabin. I never had a chance.
I'm sorry to hear about that.
It's my only unhappy memory in all my years at sea.
I suppose you remember it well,
Oh, yes. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. The alarm was sounded. I was able to get all my passengers on deck, but I was too late for Mr. Grayson. Poor Mr. Grayson. Cabin 37. Right here. B deck. Cabin B 37. Funny thing, the only reason he got that cabin was because someone else had canceled.
I didn't say another word. I couldn't. I walked off the boat. I wandered into a bar. Something I rarely do when I'm alone. I ordered a drink. I took the receipt out of my pocket. There it was. I had reserved cabin B37 for that particular cruise. Had I gone on it, I would have been dead. Once again, Dick Harrison had intervened. But why? Why was all this happening? Why was I being saved? For what reason? Was it because it was something I was supposed to do, something I must accomplish before I died? But what? All I knew was writing. And a kind of specialized writing at that. It's mostly about the supernatural. But the fact is, I was being kept alive, and by Dick Harrison.
Beats me, Tony.
But you keep saving my life, Dick.
Well, the answer could be in one of your books.
Which one?
Tony, you're my most important client just now, and so you know what I'm doing? I'm reading your books.
Oh, don't tell me that you never...
Well, Tony, they were always a little bit too heavy for me, but I found out if you stay with them, Well, I'll tell you one thing. They sure changed me.
Changed you how?
I feel different.
In what way?
In every way.
Mention one.
I'm beginning to feel peaceful.
Peaceful? What does that mean?
I don't feel I have to be on stage all the time. I feel I can relax, just sit quietly and think. It's a wonderful feeling.
Now, you said you found something in one of my books.
It's no one thing, Tony. It's no one book. It's all of them. All of them together. It's what happens to you while you read. You feel like somebody's talking to you.
Who?
I don't know. And it doesn't matter. Somebody or something just wonderful makes you feel satisfied just to be yourself. What you're doing, Tony, is important. So important.
Important?
Yeah. Because it can change people.
Or maybe you're just feeling blue, Dick.
You don't understand. I'm feeling wonderful. Tony, maybe I was meant to be your agent.
You? Why?
So you wouldn't become too successful.
Well, that's a fact. I'm not too successful.
But you keep writing what you're writing now. Keep writing. Believe me, Tony, this world needs it.
Was that why I was being saved? Is it possible that I was actually creating a new philosophy? Was I being saved because my work was not yet done? In my mind, I quickly reviewed all that I'd ever written. Yes, it was possible that I was laying the foundation for a whole new concept of belief. It was not in any specific thing I said, but everything pointed to a harmonious force in the universe which any one of us could make his own. Yes, perhaps that was my mission. Perhaps that's why I was being saved. My work was not yet done.
Tony, I think you write some rattling good stories. But as far as any religious... I don't know how to put this.
Well, how do you account for the fact that I've been saved so often, Ruthie?
Well, it could be coincidence.
I don't think so.
What do you think?
I don't know.
Why don't we just wait and see what happens?
Was it coincidence? Or was I being saved from a crashing plane, from drowning, from a fire, from a dangerous automobile, by a man who not only saved me by what he did, but also because of what he was, a rather mediocre literary agent, who thus kept me writing in a certain style? So I was thus destined to save humanity. I would have to continue to write my philosophy, and therefore I could not die. I had a tremendous feeling of power. I am, after all, only human. I couldn't help it. Is it true that I cannot die? I cannot be killed? I had to prove it to myself. I was standing on a busy corner. I deliberately stepped into the path of an onrushing automobile.
Tony!
Dick!
Are you out of your mind? You deliberately stepped into the path of that car.
Did I? Where did you come from?
I don't know. I just happened to be here.
You just happened to be here? Then it's true.
What's true? What's true?
I can't tell you, Dick.
Why?
I'm scared, Dick. I'm scared.
The end of the story? We don't know. That is, we don't know yet. This is, after all, a contemporary story, and perhaps we'll find out in 5 or 10 or 20 years. Why not? This kind of thing has been happening all through history. Every now and then, someone comes along, usually out of nowhere, and changes the thinking and or the beliefs of the world. I may have something to spur your thinking in just a few minutes. We've presented a man named Anthony Warlock, who could have died any number of times, but somehow his life was always being saved by the intervention of one Dick Harrison. Anthony Warlock believes it's because he, Anthony, has something of great importance to bestow upon the world. However, could it be the other way around? Does Dick keep saving Anthony because one day Dick will have something vital to give to the world, and Anthony is the one who must financially support Dick until Dick is ready? Which one is the instrument, and which one is the player? Our cast included Ralph Bell, Bob Caliban, and E.V. Juster. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
And now, Mystery Theater, brought to you in part by True Value Hardware, your store of first choice.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the wonders of your own imagination. For although I am about to tell you a horror story, it is really your imagination that will bring it to life for you. I shouldn't even say I will tell it, for it's really the story of Edward Somerset, as recounted in his private journal dated London, 1874. A truly harrowing account of what took place at Moorland Manor. Our mystery drama, The Headstrong Corpse, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by George Lothar and stars Suzanne Grossman and Gordon Gould. As you may know, it's a custom of mine, a hobby, if you will, to read old diaries and journals, the accounts of lives written down by people long since dead and in their graves. Recently, I had the good fortune to come across the journal of a certain Edward Somerset, a young London lawyer, barrister, the English would say, who tells a grisly tale of what took place at Moorland Manor in the year 1874. According to Edward Somerset, but no, let him tell the story in his own words, just as he recorded it in his journal.
And so, this being the appointed day, I took the coach to the village of Burley, 20 miles south of London in Kent, and in spite of the storminess of the weather, made the trip in less than 4 hours. I found Margaret Trezilian, the girl I loved devotedly, but who, alas, shall never be mine, in a terrible state of nerves.
Edward, how glad I am to see you.
And I you, my darling, though I feared you'd not welcome the sight of me.
Darling, if only I'd never consented to marry Richard Westmore. Never given my promise.
You had no choice.
Is there no escape, no way out?
Only if Dr. Westmore releases you from your promise. Rescinds the marriage contract you and your father signed.
He'll never release me. In fact, he's coming for the weekend. He'll be here this evening to set the date for our marriage.
Perhaps if I were to have a talk with him... Now, what's all that?
Hobbs and Mrs. Murchison having another of their quarrels.
Mr. Hobbs, is that?
Oh, no, it isn't, Mrs. Murchison. By no means is
Oh,
it.
we'll see, Mr. Hobbs. We'll see. Miss.
What is it now, Mrs. Murchison? Since we buried my father a week ago, you and Hobbs have quarreled without let-up. What is it this time?
It's him and his lofty airs. That's what it is. Sir Simon was hardly cold in his coffin before Hobbs began lording it over me and the other servants. Now your father is dead, he seems to feel he's in charge.
I am. That's the way Sir Simon would have wanted it. Oh, begging your pardon, miss, but as you know, I was butler and personal servant to your father before you were born. I've been with this family many years, most of my life, in fact.
Whatever this disagreement between you and Mrs. Murchison may be, we'll discuss it another time. At the moment, we must go to the crypt. Fetch a lantern so you can light the way. Well, why do you stand there?
Oh, there'll be no need for me to enter the crypt, I trust.
I don't believe so. Edward?
No. The will merely states that the coffin was to be left open for a week and food and water left nearby.
The master was always afraid of being buried alive. Deathly afraid.
As many are. It's an all too common occurrence. But no, you needn't enter the crypt, Hobbs. Miss Trezilian must do that. And I, as a representative of the law firm of Costain and Loring, must accompany her.
Ah, yes, sir, but when it comes to putting the lid on the coffin and screwing it down...
I'll do that, since it seems to trouble you.
Oh, thank you, sir, and I'll fetch the lantern.
You may go, Mrs. Murchison. We'll discuss this matter later.
Very well, miss. But Hobbs is becoming... He has become impossible. Oh, now, who could that be on such a day as this?
Whoever it may be, let him in out of the storm, Mrs. Murchison.
Yes, miss, at once.
Oh, thank you, Murchison, thank you. Frightful day. Soaked to the skin.
Lord Burleigh, what brings you out on such a day?
Well, all days are good days for business, my dear.
Business? Oh, I apologize. I haven't introduced you. This is Mr. Edward Somerset of Costain and Loring, my father's solicitors.
How do?
Edward, Lord Burleigh.
How do you do, sir?
You're here on business, you say?
To be exact, we make another offer for Moorland Manor, my dear.
You've chosen a bad time, my lord. Though, really, any time would be bad. As my father told you more than once, I think, Moorland is not for sale.
Wrong tense, my dear. It wasn't for sale, but it is now. Or I happen to know soon will be.
What gives you that idea, Lord Burleigh?
Excuse me, Miss...
Hobbs has brought the lantern, Edward. Lord Burleigh will have to excuse us.
Ah, I had forgot. This is the day, and no doubt the time, for paying a visit to the family crypt, eh? Your father had a fear of being buried alive. Well, I'm sure you'll find him dead enough.
May I ask how you happen to be so well acquainted with the private affairs of Moorland Manor? How do you know this is the day we were to visit the crypt?
There's little goes on in Burleigh, in the county and at the village, sir, that I don't know. Good day to you, sir. And you'll be hearing from me again, Miss Trezilian.
Terrible man.
Certainly is. Well, Margaret, it's time.
Yes.
Hobbs, lead the way. Here we are. I'll open the door. Give me the lantern, Hobbs, and wait here.
Oh, yes, sir.
Come, Margaret.
Edward, I can't enter that awful place again.
I'm afraid you must. It was your father's wish.
So cold. Damp, so... Oh.
There's the open coffin. Let me just shine the lantern inside it. to be sure your father's body is still there. Yes, it is. Look, Margaret.
Yes. The body's there.
Go outside now. I'll put the lid on the coffin and screw it down.
All right. I'll wait for you with Hobbs until you... Edward.
What is it?
There's something strange here. Something curious. The clothes on the body.
The clothes?
That isn't the suit we buried my father in. In fact, Edward... Oh, good Lord. It isn't my father's body.
Now, Margaret.
Edward, I tell you it isn't. You knew my father. He was much taller, and he was thin.
By heaven, you're right. But this makes no sense at all. It's his head.
Yes, it is. I'm going to faint.
Outside, quickly. I'll join you.
Miss, what is it, miss?
Something horrible. Horrible.
Oh, what, miss, what?
I don't dare say it, Hobbs. I don't dare think it.
Mr. Somerset, sir, what is it? What is it in there?
The thing in the coffin. It's Sir Simon's head, but not his body.
Not his body?
Someone cut his head off, stole his body, and put another in its place.
Incredible. Utterly incredible, Somerset.
Dr. Westmore, what I've just told you, I saw with my own eyes. So did Margaret. In fact, she was the one who first noticed it was the wrong body.
Where is she?
Resting. Or perhaps I should say recuperating. It was an awful shock for her.
Oh, no doubt. Have you notified the police?
No.
Well, why not, man?
There's only a constable in the village, and I've heard he's anything but competent. I intend to send a message to the London police by coach tomorrow morning.
Well, better still, I'll take it for you.
I'd rather not wait till you leave on Monday.
Oh, I'll not be staying the weekend now. Margaret will be in no mood or condition to discuss our wedding plans. And as a surgeon at London Hospital, I have much to do. No point wasting my time here.
You don't exactly sound like a man in love, Dr. Westmore.
In love?
With Margaret, of course.
But I'm not. Nor is she with me. It's all purely a financial arrangement, you understand.
Well, no, I didn't quite.
Oh, but of course. An arrangement I made with Sir Simon. He was a very ill man for nearly a decade. He sought my rather special services, if I may say so. But as you know, Morland is mortgaged to the hilt, and he was unable to pay.
In return, he offered you his daughter's hand in marriage?
And Morland Manor. Even though the estate is heavily mortgaged, it'll give me a tidy sum. A fortune, in fact, once I sell it. Now, look here, let's go down to the crypt. I want to see for myself.
I'll ring for Hobbs first. You say you're not in love with Margaret?
Not in the least.
I am.
Oh, are you indeed?
And she's in love with me?
Yes. Yes.
I don't know quite how to ask this, except to ask it. Will you release Margaret?
Why, of course not.
Even if... Oh, Hobbs.
You rang, sir?
Yes. Dr. Westmore and I want to go down into the crypt. Bring a lantern, will you?
Yes, sir.
Oh, and tell Mrs. Murchison she can serve tea in half an hour.
Yes, sir.
As I was saying, Doctor, even if Margaret signed over all right to Moorland to you...
Why should I bargain for what will be mine once we marry?
And if she refuses to marry you?
Well, she won't. Margaret is a woman of honor.
What do you know of honor, Dr. Westmore?
Now, if you mean to insult me, Somerset...
I mean to give you the truth. I've had you investigated, Doctor. Quietly, but thoroughly. I happen to know that you have twice been brought before the Royal College of Surgeons on charges of conduct unbecoming a physician. Charges which could not be proved for lack of evidence.
I was not guilty.
That you are presently under investigation by the same College of Surgeons who this time do have the evidence to revoke your license. And will, Dr. Westmore, because you are considered unworthy of the name doctor and will be barred from medical practice.
You have been thorough, Somerset. Perhaps, under the circumstances, you'd prefer I went down the crypt without your company.
I'd better go with you, since one of the charges against you is that of body snatching. I'll take the lantern, Hobbs. You wait here.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Oh, and you told Mrs. Murchison about tea.
Well, I'm sorry, sir, but I couldn't find her about.
What do you mean? She must be somewhere in the house.
No, sir. At least I was unable to find her, and you did want the lantern right away, sir. So
no matter. This way, Westmore.
Those coffins, stacked one on top of another. Their occupants have certainly been dead for years.
Some of them for nearly a century.
Curious. That's Sir Simon's coffin there, the one with the lid off?
Yes. And as you can see, the body isn't that of Sir Simon, but...
Good Lord! What in the name of... Here, raise the lantern. Let's have some more light. You did say the head was Sir Simon's?
It was.
But this is... It's the head of a woman.
Katie.
Katie?
Katie Johnson. The maid.
What's this? Well, it's incredible. First, if I'm to believe you, Sir Simon's body was exchanged for another, and now his head? Is this some sort of a joke?
I don't think so, Westmore. But if it is, it's the joke of someone gone mad. Stark mad.
A baffling mystery, wouldn't you say? You might even call it heady. Sorry, I couldn't resist that. Edward Somerset's daily journal, recording what took place later on, is even more baffling, and I'm afraid more ghastly. Most of this strange story, the body of it... There I go again. All I meant to say was, there's more to come. And so, I'll be back shortly with Act 2. The world is filled with all sorts of shocking things. But I must confess that even I, somewhat of a connoisseur of the shocking, was totally stunned by Edward Somerset's account of what happened following the gruesome discovery that Sir Simon's head had now been replaced by Katie Johnson's. If I was appalled merely in reading about what had taken place, the feelings of those who actually lived through these ghastly events can be imagined.
But where is my father's body, head and body? Whose body is it in the coffin? Who killed Katie Johnson, severed her head from her body, and put it in my father's coffin? What?
Margaret, I beg you, enough. I can't answer even one of your questions, let alone a dozen.
I didn't ask a dozen, Edward.
You needn't snap my head off.
No. We're all somewhat nerved up.
Talk. We sit here talking when we should be doing something.
Perhaps you have a suggestion, my dear Margaret?
At least one murder has been committed in this house. Possibly two. Katie Johnson and whoever's body that is in my father's coffin. Shouldn't we notify the police?
The village constable is worse than useless. Dr. Westmore has offered to take a message to the London police when he leaves in the morning.
You'll not be staying the weekend?
I may soon cease to be a doctor, Margaret. Certainly if the College of Surgeons rescinds my license. But I still retain some remnants of the gentleman. You are certainly in no mood to discuss our wedding plans.
Neither now nor at any other time.
Ah, well, you have no choice there.
Perhaps she does. Or could have, if, as you say, you do retain some gentlemanly qualities.
You refer to the suggestion you made earlier, just before we went down into the crypt.
Yes.
What suggestion?
That Westmore release you from your pledge to marry him in return for Moorland Manor, which, after all, is really what he wants.
Not quite, my dear fellow. Not altogether quite.
What do you mean? If you don't love Margaret...
Love has nothing to do with it. It's a matter of convenience and what is best for me.
I don't understand.
Well, you would if you'd allow me to finish. Once my license to practice medicine is revoked, and it will be this time, I'm sure, I shall go into business. Contacts, important contacts, are vital to business success. And the making of contacts requires a good deal of entertaining. So you see, I shall need a wife to fill the role of hostess. Does that answer you?
Yes, I guess it does.
I beg your pardon, Miss Margaret.
Oh, Hobbs, yes.
You asked me to find out where Mrs. Murchison had got to, and I have, miss.
Where did you find her?
In the kitchen, sir, where she claimed she'd been all the time. Only she hasn't.
Did you tell her I want to see her?
Yes, miss, he did. And I came straight along.
Where have you been the past hour?
In the kitchen, miss. Preparing tonight's dinner.
Mrs. Murchison, more than an hour ago, I asked Hobbs to let you know he wanted tea, and he couldn't find you.
Well, I don't know why not, Mr. Somerset. I've been in the kitchen all that time. And as for tea, there was no need to give me an order. Tea is always served in this house at 5.
Then why didn't you serve it?
Too busy getting dinner, miss. I gave Katie instructions to serve it today. She never got to do it. God rest her soul.
Hobbs said he couldn't find you. Not anywhere.
Well, that is a lie. I have been in that kitchen the last 2 hours. Never left it once. He's lying, he is. Trying to get me into trouble.
Oh, come now, Murchison. Why would Hobbs want to get you into trouble?
Because I know too much about him. That's why. And he's afraid I might tell what I know. He wants to see me dismissed.
The woman is mad. Stark mad.
Am I? Am I? We have been paid no salary in this house for 6 months. Now, not that I'm complaining, miss, I'm not. But ask him how he can afford to buy the finest of vintage wines to swill down his gullet. Ask him who pays for the costly cigars he smokes. And ask him where he gets the money for the expensive suits, shoes, whatever he wears when he goes to London on his days off. Ask him.
Is it true, Hobbs?
Why, yes, miss, I'll not deny that I enjoy good wine and a fine cigar. How do I pay for them? Why, miss, your father paid me well in the many years I served him. I was able to save considerable. And that, miss, is all there is to it. Though Mrs. Murchison would like you to think otherwise.
Think what? Well, Mrs. Murchison?
Nothing, miss. I've said too much already. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a roast cooking.
1 minute.
Sir?
The inside of your right arm. I just noticed when you turned. It's smeared with what looks like blood.
Blood?
Well, look at it.
Oh. Oh, yes.
Is it blood, Mrs. Murchison?
Well, I guess it is. Yes, preparing the roast, cutting it, I must have got a smear of blood on me.
Is that how you got it, Mrs. Murchison?
What do you mean, Dr. Westmore?
Nothing. Nothing, Mrs. Murchison.
May I go, miss?
Yes. And you too, Hobbs.
Oh, yes, miss.
Well, she could have got that blood on her from cutting a roast of beef.
Or from cutting something else. My suspicions of Mrs. Murchison were sharply aroused. I had myself stated to Westmore that whoever was responsible for these ghoulish happenings must be mad. Stark mad. I was speculating on all this in the drawing room after dinner, paying little attention to something Margaret and Westmore were discussing, when, to the surprise of us all, Lord Burleigh was announced for the second time that day.
His lordship, miss.
Good evening, Miss Tressilian, Mr. Somerset, and you, Dr. Westmore.
Good evening.
Lord Burleigh.
Sir?
I thought our business had ended this afternoon.
Ah, no, my dear. Business, sound business, that is, never takes no for an answer. Since I could not reason with you, I decided to ride over and, if possible, reason with your husband-to-be. To answer your look, Doctor, yes, I heard you were here.
Is there anything you don't know, Lord Burleigh?
Very little, very little. As your betrothed may have mentioned to you, I'm interested in buying Moorland Manor.
She didn't mention it, no.
Ah, yes. Well, I am prepared to make you, all things considered, a quite decent offer, Doctor. Once you come into possession through marriage, of course. Would you be interested?
I would, indeed. Why do you want moorland, my lord?
Well, it adjoins my own estate. The 780 acres of moorland would be a welcome addition.
I should think so, yes. What are you prepared to offer?
£1 per acre, 780 pounds.
That isn't an offer, Lord Burleigh. It's an insult.
Oh, not at all, not at all. If you look at it in the right light, Doctor, all things considered, as I said, it's really something of a compliment.
As attorney for the estate, I can assure you it's worth a very great deal more than £780.
Oh, can you, Mr. Somerset? Can you indeed? In your position, you must also be aware that the estate is impoverished.
Yes, but
that taxes are now a year in arrears.
Yes, still.
I know. You entertain the hope, the forlorn hope, Mr. Somerset, that through proper management, through improved land production, you might salvage the estate.
I would hope that Dr. Westmore would, when he becomes owner.
Well, hasn't he told you he means to sell moorland within a month, perhaps less? You'll be willing to settle for shillings.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, quite simply, my dear, that there will be no one here to run the place for you. No servants, no farmers, no stable help, no one.
Why not?
Because the strange things taking place here, I refer to the occurrences in the family vault, are already known in the village, and the people are frightened. Within a few days, they will shun Moorland Manor as if it contained bubonic plague.
This is impossible. Well informed as you may be on what goes on in Burleigh, you couldn't be this informed. Unless...
Yes?
Nothing.
No, I insist. Unless what, my dear?
I said nothing.
But your silence signifies everything. If you're implying that I have a more than ordinary knowledge of what is going on here, that I am in some way involved, then out with it.
That is indeed what I do surmise.
Well, then let me assure you that you're wrong. I have my sources of information. Yes, I have my informants. Indeed, a network of them. But I am not, I repeat, not a body snatcher.
Body snatcher?
Oh, good Lord, man, what do you think is behind all this?
Body snatching.
Oh, heaven help us, what naivete. Do you think someone is simply playing games, having some sort of ghoulish fun? You, Miss Tressilian, and you, Mr. Somerset, yes, I can understand it with you too. But Westmore, you? Do you mean to say you haven't suggested this possibility, this probability, to these two young people?
Should I have?
But you know better than anyone the need of bodies for dissection purposes, for the training of medical students. Medical schools will pay £10 for a fresh body, and 15, as you damn well know, sir, for a fresh head.
Really? You're far more knowledgeable than I am, sir.
Oh, you know nothing of it, eh? You, whose case is on trial this very moment before the College of Surgeons for just such practices, you know nothing?
What is he on trial for? I thought it was body snatching alone.
Oh, that, of course. But in the eyes of the authorities, something far more vile. Dr. Westmore is a grave robber.
What?
Yes, my dear. He not only snatches corpses, but robs them as well.
Is this true?
I own to nothing.
You needn't. Your face says all.
Blast you, Lord Burleigh, for what you've done to me these past minutes.
I to you? Have you not done it to yourself, sir?
Yes, heaven above help me, yes. But I had hopes, stupidly had hopes, that I might repair the damage I've done others and myself. I dared to hope that with the monies I would receive from the sale of moorland, I might regain some reputation, some respect, some personal dignity.
I ask your pardon. I had not known you had in you even a spark of decency.
Only a spark. Nevertheless, a spark, which I might have fanned into flame.
You may still. What I have said has been said within the confines of this house.
No, Lord Burleigh, it has been said within the confines of this woman's heart. And we'll echo there till the day she dies.
Oh, well, I am sorry. But now, as to my offer to buy Moorland Manor...
Another time. We'll discuss it another time, if at all.
Now, then I had best take my leave.
That would be best. And Lord Burleigh.
My dear?
Don't come back.
The revelation of another side to Dr. Westmore's character, a good side, came as a surprise to both myself and Margaret. Unhappily, this better side of Dr. Westmore, as Margaret and I discovered in a long discussion with him following Burleigh's departure, by no means influenced him in releasing Margaret from her obligation to marry him. When finally he had retired for the night, Margaret and I sat hopelessly talking of the future.
Edward, I love you so. And the thought of marrying Dr. Westmore, I shudder at it.
I too, my darling. There must be something. Something.
What? What solution have you thought of?
One that only God could arrange, I'm afraid. Westmore's death.
Oh, Edward.
Frankly, there have been times when I've been nearly driven to arrange it myself.
You mustn't say such things, Edward. Not even think them. 2 a.m. No wonder we're having such wild thoughts. We're tired. I'll say good night to you, my dearest. Edward!
What in heaven's name?
Mrs. Murchison!
But where is she? Where are those screams? Oh, the crypt!
The crypt?
Sounds that way. Stay here.
No, I'm coming with you.
Here's the crypt. Don't come in, Margaret.
Nonsense, Edward.
Mrs. Hammond. Mrs.
What is it, Mrs. Murchison? What are you doing here in the crypt? And what's happened to make you lose control?
There. In Sir Simon's closet. Go and look. See for yourself.
Good Lord.
Edward, what?
No, don't look, Margaret.
I must. Oh, my God.
When I came to that part of Edward Somerset's journal, I could hardly wait to turn the page, to find out what new horror had taken place in the crypt. And a horror it was. A shocking horror, as you'll discover when you turn the page, so to speak, shortly, after I return with Act 3. Shall we turn that page of Edward Somerset's journal? Personally, I could scarcely wait to do so. But I am used to horrors, can sort of take them in my stride. While you, on the other... You insist? Very well, then. We turn the page.
Margaret, for all her delicate beauty, is a strong woman, a woman of courage. But as she looked into her father's coffin, and the words...
Oh, my God!
escaped her lips, I feared she was about to faint. But she somehow managed to retain control. When I was sure she wasn't about to collapse, I turned my attention to Mrs. Murchison and said, "Pull yourself together, Mrs. Murchison."
I'll try.
And answer me. What are you doing here in the crypt? And at this hour of the morning? Well, answer me.
I wanted to clear myself.
Clear yourself?
To prove my innocence. Last night, when you saw the blood smear on my arm, the way you looked at me, all of you, the way you talked, I could see you suspected me of doing these foul things. But what brought you here? What could you expect to prove here? I don't know. I only know I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, all sorts of thoughts going through my head, all sorts of needs to prove to you that your suspicions of me were unfounded. I came down here in desperation, I suppose, thinking I might find something, some clue, some bit of evidence that would give the lie to Hobbs. Instead, I found that.
What do you mean, give the lie to Hobbs?
Sir, I was in the kitchen all the time he claims he was looking for me. The time when poor Katie was murdered. Oh, and so that blood on my arm was from cutting the roast beef, from nothing else.
So you say.
You don't believe me still.
Why should I? We find you here in the crypt under very curious circumstances, and you expect us to believe your not very convincing story?
It's the truth. I swear to you, sir, and you, miss, it's true.
That's to be seen. The question now is, what's to be done?
Edward, the police must be notified as soon as possible.
Yes. Dr. Westmore was going to take a message to London tomorrow morning. Well, someone else will have to do it now.
Edward?
Yes?
Are we dealing with a madman?
I'd say what's in that coffin answers your question, Margaret. If we had found Dr. Westmore's head, just the head, I might still have some doubts, but not anymore. Not after finding Westmore's head with the lips cut off.
Terrible. Terrible what happened to Dr. Westmore.
Yes.
Will you be long in London, sir?
Only overnight. I'll return in the morning with, I hope, some member of the police force who can get to the bottom of what's going on at Moorland.
Strange, strange. First Sir Simon's body taken, but his head left in the coffin. Then his head gone and Katie's... Oh, the poor girl. Her head put in its place. And now Dr. Westmore's head in place of Katie's and the lips cut off. It was horrible. Horrible.
Very.
Have you any idea, sir, as to what's behind this?
I have my suspicions, Hobbs. But that's all they are. Suspicions.
Well, now, you'll be sure to return on the morning coach, and so I'll be there to meet you.
Yes.
Depend on me. And there now, you see, the village just below us in the valley. I told you we'd be in plenty of time.
You've hardly touched your dinner, miss.
I'm not hungry, Mrs. Murchison.
Oh, small wonder. All that's happened here. And some of the village farmhands telling you today that they'd not be coming back to Moorland to work the fields. I'll see who it is, miss. Lord Burley.
Is your mistress at home, Mrs. Murchison?
I'll see, my lord.
No need. I'm sure she is.
I thought I had informed you, Lord Burley, that your presence here is no longer desired.
You may change your mind about that.
If you've come to see me about...
I've come to see the crypt, if I may have your permission.
Whatever for?
I learned today that a good number of your farmhands have left you because of the doings here. Well, for my benefit, once I own moorland, I think it best to clear up the mystery of the crypt as quickly as may be.
You think you can?
I know I can. Because, you see, I know, on good authority, the reason behind what's been going on.
Is it body snatching?
Yes. So, in any case, I am informed. But I wish to see for myself before taking action. I have your permission?
Very well.
Now, come along, then. Now, first I want to look in the coffin. Ah, poor Westmore. Lips mutilated as I was informed.
Whatever it is you wish to see or do, will you do it quickly?
To be absolutely sure, I'll open the top coffin on this stack.
No. You can't do that. It's sacrilege. That's the coffin of my mother.
I'm afraid it was the coffin of your mother, my dear. In truth, I'm afraid many of these coffins no longer contain their original occupants. They are now used as storage boxes for much fresher corpses. Now, with your permission, then. Yeah, so see for yourself, Margaret.
Please, I'd rather not.
Oh, come, you must. This once. I want you to know I speak the truth. Look.
But why? If bodies are in such demand, why store them away? Why not sell them at once?
Oh, my dear, you are as devoid of business sense as your father. In business, there is an inexorable law known as the law of supply and demand. When supply exceeds demand, prices fall, and vice versa. There is more demand for corpses at some times than at others, more demand for heads at certain times. At the moment, medical schools are in need of heads. Why? I haven't the vaguest idea. My informant didn't know.
I do.
What?
Hobbs, what are you doing here?
No need to answer that, Hobbs. That butcher knife in your hand is answer enough.
Answer enough for you! Damn your rotten soul! Damn!
You're standing in the
May he rot in hell! Eyes and ears everywhere. Nothing hidden from him. Oh, knew everything. Knew all about what was going on down here. I even knew, I'll be bound, that I am the body snatcher. You didn't know. You didn't even suspect. Mr. Somerset did. Lord Burleigh did. Dr. Westmore, oh, yes, he more than suspected. He knew, because he was the one who bought what I had to sell.
Westmore!
He started me, but I ended him. I had to.
Why? Why did you have to?
He was soon to go on trial before the College of Surgeons. They have enough evidence to convict him, to break him down, and he will have told everything, including where he got the bodies, the heads, from me. Yes, from me. That's why I had to cut off his lips, so he'd never tell. Never.
You're mad.
Yes, that may be.
The bodies, the heads. How did you transport them? The nearest medical schools are in London.
I have a carriage, more a wagon in the village. And the night before, I would go to London. On my days off, I would take what I had to sell into the village and stack them away in the wagon. You thought I went to London by coach? Yeah. No, I never did. I always went in my wagon, taking my produce to market, to Dr. Westmore.
And I never suspected. I never knew.
Well, you do now.
No, don't kill me, Hobbs. Please don't kill me.
I must. And cut off your lips so you can't ever tell.
No, please.
I'll be quick. It won't hurt. Oh, yes. I've become very... Mr. Somerset, you came back.
I never went. But Hobbs will never know that now.
Oh, Edward. Oh, darling, he was the body snatcher, and he...
I know, dearest. I heard everything he said. But I knew the whole story before I came back from the village.
You didn't go to London?
I never intended to. The more I thought about it, the more it seemed that if Lord Burleigh could buy information, and he couldn't have got it any other way, then maybe if I spread the word in the village that I was willing to pay and pay handsomely, well... In any case, I did. And it worked.
You learned about Hobbs?
Everything.
Thank God you arrived in time.
I thank him not only for that, but for the future that lies ahead for us. There are two important tasks I shall devote the rest of my life to. One is restoring Moorland Manor to what it once was.
And the other?
Making you the happiest woman on earth.
And so ended, happily, the strange and horrifying events at Moorland Manor. Edward Somerset continued his journal for many years, and I'm glad to be able to tell you that he did restore Moorland Manor to its former splendor. And he must have made Margaret at least one of the happiest women on earth, if 9 children mean anything. I'll be back shortly. Our story took place in 1874. There are many who say the world was a better place to live in then. Maybe it was. I don't know. All of us do face many problems, many frustrations, many fears these days. But one fear we don't have now that just about everyone had then is the fear of being buried alive. At least I don't think we have. Our cast included Suzanne Grossman, Gordon Gould, Anne Petoniak, Ian Martin, Kurt Benson, and George Lothar. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown.
This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
I'm E.G. Marshall. It might occur to you that since I live so much in the world of the macabre, I could become jaded. Nothing could be further from the truth. For the deeper I delve into Satanism, the occult, the mystical history of the past, the more I realize how little I know, how much is yet to be revealed. An example, this tale. A quiet and unassuming one, but filled with such brooding and haunting terror that I'm sure you will share it with me. Our mystery drama, Never in This World, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Ian Martin and stars Alexander Scorby. According to legend, if a man walked withershins about a church, he would walk right into the arms of the devil. The word withershins is of Gaelic derivation and means to walk contrary to the path of the sun, or counterclockwise. This is the story of an American of Scottish background who, on an idle fancy, challenged the legend at the beginning of this century and stirred up old ghosts from 2 centuries before.
Oh, there, girls. Steady on now.
All right, Mr. Blodgett. You and Martha handle the bags.
Yeah, I'll take care of that, Miss Campbell.
Now, take my arm, David, and step down carefully.
Oh, don't be foolish, Lucy. I can manage by myself.
After the siege you've been through, right at death's door.
I only had the influenza. That was months ago.
Followed by what amounted to a nervous breakdown. That's why we're up here again.
Dr. Chambers is an old fusspot. Oh, nervous breakdown. Just plain debilitation, dehydration. But no matter. I'm grateful to him just the same. Oh, smell that good New Hampshire air.
Never mind smelling it. Feel it. Chilly as always. You get right in the house.
In good time. First of all, a little walk. I think I'll stroll on down, see how Ephraim weathered last winter.
But that's nearly a mile's walk.
Oh, just a stroll. Now I'm back in the country. It's good to stretch my legs after being pent up these last years in the city.
You walk slowly, you hear? And be sure to be back here for dinner on time. You know I don't like to be kept waiting.
Yes, dear, I know. Married 24 years to a good woman. No doubt about Lucy being that. She reminds me of it often enough. A placid, uneventful life. Successful business. One child, the delight of my life. The rest of it, floating along in a rut, like an autumn leaf on the muddy waters in a wheel track. 50-ish, fattish, and feeblish after my first brush with death. Yes, I found I didn't have to be told to walk slowly. I had to. On my way to see my old friend, the Reverend Ephraim Bean.
Come in. Come in. And behold, I come quickly. Revelations chapter 22, verse 11, I believe. The Right Reverend Ephraim Bean at your service.
Don't tell me I've changed that much.
Bless my soul, my sight is getting to be a caution. Now, where are my spectacles?
Try your forehead.
Oh, yeah. David Campbell by Tophet. Is it not?
It is indeed.
Well, come in, man. Oh, hey, I see. You look in the pink. Sit you down, and I'll refresh you with a glass of cider. And you must tell me all.
Not much to tell. Long bout with influenza.
'Tis a plague on the whole country this year. Here now. You'll have a glass?
It looks just the ticket.
But tell me about your illness. The influenza epidemic this year, the good Lord knows, has been widespread and virulent.
Virulent enough in my case. I'd like to have carried me off, but for some last moment's strength I gathered somewhere, and so got my reprieve.
Oh, tell me, when was its onset?
The day after New Year's.
Good heavens. Mm-hmm. And it's lasted all the way now into August?
Well, the germ itself was brought under control months ago and finally washed from my system. But a curious aftermath, a kind of disease, or if you want, unease of the mind afflicted me. The medical term of choice, I suppose, would be a nervous breakdown.
Well, my good friend, I'm glad you returned. We must shake these shadows from the corner of your soul, if they still persist.
Well, I put as good a face on it as I can, but... Yes, Ephraim, they do persist. But something even more than that. Something, some inner voice called me back, here.
Eh? For what?
I don't know. Shall I tell you what haunts and tortures me? And why I was so glad that Lisbeth was not to come? Because I don't know whether it is for good or evil. I only know it must be.
Remember Isaiah. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil.
No, that's not what I said.
Not in so many words. But look deep in your heart, David, and ask yourself if somewhere, somehow, the thought is not there.
Walking back from the Reverend Bean's on that early August afternoon, I thought long and deeply, trying to find with his suggested key some door to unlock my long depression. But neither then nor on succeeding walks, longer and longer as I grew stronger, could I find an answer to the strange call which tugged at me, but gave me no intimation which way to follow and find the answer.
But where do you go on these long rambles of yours?
Oh, nowhere in particular. I just like to walk, to listen to the drowse of the bees and feel the wind in my face.
The wind. Oh, yes, first thing we know, you'll be back with the influenza again if you don't stop exposing yourself to the chill.
I doubt it. That's past.
You're still determined to go off on this jaunt today?
Well, yes. Now I feel strong enough. I've always wanted to go back up to the Devil's Glen. Oh, so many happy times there with Lisbeth when she was a child.
Well, you have your lunch all packed up that Martha made for you.
Yes, Lucy?
Now, don't dilly-dally till too late. Martha says her rheumatism is acting up, and that means a thunderstorm is on the way.
There was a glorious Sunday afternoon, and after lunching at the Devil's Glen and basking a while in happy old memories, I was tempted to walk just a little farther up a trail I'd never taken before. I followed the stream a little, and then the trail bent into the woods. All of a sudden, I broke from the trees into a clearing, in the center of which stood the ruins of an old church and a weed-covered graveyard beside it. After pottering around, reading some of the weathered headstones, this cursed whim struck me. I'd not been to church that morning, and on an impulse, as if obeying some order from beyond imagining, before heading for home, I was driven to circle the church twice with the shins. Perhaps recalling some ancient dare as a boy that I'd refused to take because of legend. No danger befell me, except that I was suddenly swept by a wave of exhaustion. With a sigh, I sat on a little bench, stretching out my legs, and I found that my feet were resting on the edge of a flat tombstone. I could barely make out the legend. Jose Ribeiro. These bones lie here in an alien land, the life struck down by mine own hand. With heavy-lidded eyes, I tried to trace the date etched in Roman numerals, but a great crack across the stone obscured some of the characters. And besides, by that time, I found myself asleep.
Dear Jose, I cannot. Never.
You must. You love me.
I love you. But we are of different faith.
To the devil with faith and church. I will still make you mine.
You never can. Never in this world.
Then in the next. If I cannot have you alive, no one shall. Dios, forgive me for what I do.
Oh, no, don't.
No, it's too late.
It's not you. That God of neither faith will ever forgive. No, my...
I was literally galvanized awake by a bolt of lightning which must have hit the tree. It was dark, and the thunder continued to grumble menacingly, so with what wits were left to me, I fled the dream and the storm and ran pell-mell for home. Letting myself in, I could hear my wife hectoring poor Martha in the kitchen about something. Gratefully, I stole upstairs, leaving my dripping greatcoat in the hall. I shut my bedroom door behind me, locking it with some strange reflex. I found a match not too wet to strike, and fumbled with cold fingers to light the lamp. I trimmed the wick, and I put the chimney back. Then I turned up the lamp and checked my pocket watch. Still time for dinner. At least Lucy could not complain of that. Now, holding the lamp, I crossed to the mirror and... Oh, God in heaven! Who was that? That dark, fierce, lean, and saturnine face of a stranger whose eyes burned into mine as he looked back at me from the mirror.
Who indeed? Dark? Lean? Certainly not the reflection of red-haired, melancholy, but gentle David Campbell. Who else, then? And why? And how? Can a childish superstition about rounding a church the wrong way really raise up the devil? I'll return shortly with Act 2.
As fascinated as a moth might be,
held by the lamp he holds in his hand, David Campbell is transfixed by the reflection in the mirror. The reflection of a man he has never seen before, who differs from him in every respect. Dark brown eyes for Blue, a great beaked nose for his straight one, dark curling hair instead of the familiar soft, straight reddish hair already receding from his brow. Other things, too, he is conscious of. Clothes hang loosely on him, too short in the sleeve length, and the elastic bands on his trousers stretch to the breaking point to accommodate his extra height. But far more than the physical shock is the profound terror of finding himself someone other than himself.
David? David, are you in there? David, why have you locked this door?
Why indeed, Lucy? Only thank God I did. Time. Precious time to figure out what? What am I going to say? What can I say?
Really, David, this is too mortifying of you. You must be in there. Why don't you answer?
I'm not feeling myself right now.
Let me in. I want to help.
The only way you can help is... Oh, all right, I'll let you in if you do something for me first.
What?
Now, please, don't think I'm being unreasonable. It's terribly important. I'm pushing a key under the door. You see it?
Yes.
It's the key to the old roll-top desk in my study. I want you to open it on the left-hand side, the first row of pigeonholes. Pull them to you, and they'll slide out. There's a secret compartment there. Inside it is a letter. Get the letter and bring it back to me here.
But I don't...
Please, do as I ask. There's no other way.
No other way for what?
When you bring it back, you'll see. Or maybe by some miracle all this won't be necessary. It took some more urging, but finally Lucy left on her errand. For myself, I returned, hoping against hope, to the mirror. No question. To outward view and sound, I was a different man. But that different man was only a prison, which still held David Campbell. The inner man was still the same. But how to convince anyone else of that?
David, I'm back.
Yes, Lucy, did you find it? There's no stamp. Instead, 2 Cupid hearts drawn by pen with an arrow piercing them together, right?
Yes, when I was young and foolish, I used to do that.
One heart has the letters LCM in it, the other DMC.
Of course, but David, this is absurd. We both know.
But nobody else knows about this letter.
I hope not.
It begins, David, I know you want to, but I'm tired of waiting for you to ask me. If we are to be in love, why shouldn't we be married? If you won't ask me, I'll ask you.
David, hush. Martha might hear. Really. These family secrets shouldn't be spoken out loud.
They have to be, otherwise you wouldn't be able to...
David, I can't stand this nonsense anymore. Open this door immediately, or I'll have to send for a doctor.
Very well, only wait just a moment before you come in.
Oh, do stop it. Open the door.
Come in, Lucy.
Well, turn up the lamp, David. I can scarcely see.
That's quite deliberate on my part. Come in. And close the door.
Oh, very well. Now, would you mind telling me what all this fiddle-faddle is about? Keys, secret drawers, old letters?
A matter of proof. I want to be sure you know who I am.
What's the matter with your voice? Have you caught cold in the rain?
I might say I've caught a devil by the tail. Though perhaps the other way around.
I think I'd better get the doctor.
I think you'd better wait first.
For what?
For what I'm about to show you. When I turn up the lamp. Just remember that I am David as I turn up the lamp and let you see.
Oh, no. No, David, no. Who? Oh, no, David, what can I say?
I don't know. Whatever you feel would be best. Talk to me as honestly as you can.
But Well, really, how can I?
Why not?
Because I...
Because now that you face the actuality, you're not sure, are you? You're not sure it's me.
Well, how can you blame me? I mean...
Don't leave this room. Stay where you are.
Don't you dare make a move toward me or I'll scream the house down. We're not alone, you know. Your brother George and his friends are all downstairs. And Mr. Blodgett, the gamekeeper with his gun...
It's all right, Lucy. I don't blame you for being scared and very brave at the same time. But the lies are not necessary.
They're not lies. The house is full of...
Besides us, there is only poor old Martha. My brother George has been dead for 5 years. Blodgett runs the general goods store and lives well over half a mile from us. And I am no stranger, no matter how I look. I'm your husband of 24 years. 25 come this November 23rd. No matter how I look.
Oh, what are we going to do?
Now, darling, don't worry too much about me. Some way we'll find a way to straighten things out.
I'm not worried about you. Somehow you brought this on yourself. I mean, what are we going to do, Lisbeth and I? What on earth can we say to people? How can we live this down?
I think there are more serious problems here to be considered first.
I'm not capable of solving them. You need a doctor or perhaps a minister. I'm going to make up the spare room where you can sleep tonight, whoever or whatever you are. Then I'll bring your dinner up to you. And tomorrow, first thing tomorrow, I'm going to the Reverend Bean and tell him everything. Maybe he can make heads or tails of it. I can't.
Lucy spoke about you suffering some sort of change that... I bless my soul. Yes, indeed.
You do find me changed, then?
Oh, without a doubt. I'm rather sorry. I thought to bring my spectacles for once.
Do you recognize me by any chance?
Not while I wear these. I think I shall remove them, and the shock will be less profound, David.
Then you do believe I am David?
I am a man of faith.
But my looks, my voice...
A shock, I admit, when seeing all too clearly. Yes, David, I accept you for who you are.
But how can you?
Because you asked me to. Tell me, how have you suffered this change?
I could feel the sting of tears behind my stranger's eyes at the simple kindness of this good man's faith and his friendly trust. I told him what little I could of my walk that day, of my discovering the ruined church, of my sudden weariness, my sitting by the grave of the man named Jose Ribeiro, my falling asleep, and the waking to the lightning striking the tree. And all the while I told him the hope in my heart was sinking slowly as I watched the expression on that open face, too ingenuous to hide any emotion or thought.
Jose Ribeiro?
Yes.
Never heard of him or any such family here.
You don't believe me after all.
Did I say that?
You didn't have to.
I believe the transformation. I believe that no matter how you look or sound, you are my dear friend, David Campbell. Now, other things are something else again.
What other things?
I've lived here all my life in Tamilworth, man and boy. I know this country like the back of my hand.
I've no doubt no one knows it better, Ephraim. But just what are you getting at?
The church, ruined or otherwise, the clearing in the forest, the graveyard. A man named Jose Ribeiro. I tell you this solemnly, since I know every tree and trace of all that area. David, my old friend, there simply is no such place.
Nor would any protestation of mine sway him from that stand. And I must admit, he had shaken me. There was no recourse. I must return there and see for myself. Easier decided than accomplished. These days, Lucy watched me like a hawk. And of course, I dared not show myself in front of Martha, to whom I would be an unexplained stranger in the house. But finally, a day came.
David,
What's the matter, Lucy?
Nothing. It's just so difficult to call you by name when, looking at you, I cannot recognize the man I married. And yet...
What?
Come to the light a moment. Yes. I do believe... I think perhaps you're starting to change back.
Oh, don't hope too much.
I suppose it's just an illusion that I'm growing used to. No, I will never get used to it. Now, I have to go marketing. Don't leave the room. Martha is in the house.
Just don't lock me in. I can't stand that. Give me the key.
Promise you won't do anything foolish.
That I can promise with all my heart. As soon as I saw Silas Blodgett drive Lucy off, I stole down the stairs, past Martha, busy in the kitchen, and fled down the street. By the time I reached the Devil's Glen, it was late afternoon. A hazy day with the sun trying to burn through a low cloud cover. I hastened up the path I remembered, holding my breath. And suddenly, there I was, back in the familiar clearing. The ruined church, the graveyard, the shade tree, part blackened by the lightning bolt that had hit it. The tortured, broken tombstone twisted with the huge crack beside the seat I had sat in. Only one thing was different as I approached. On the seat, still as death, leaning on a stick as though waiting, was the figure of a woman whose pose suggested incredible age, but at one and the same moment, a timeless beauty. Her head was shrouded in a veil, so this was only an impression as I approached her. Am I intruding?
Of course not.
I hope you will forgive me, but I've been ill, and I would like to sit down. May I join you?
Need you ask? Sit, my darling, by me. It is so long that I've waited for you, but I knew that somehow, at the last, you would come back.
Fantasy or reality? An actual meeting in an actual place? Or some strange fixation of the mind? And if so, on whose part? David? Or the woman who turns, casting the veil aside, a face that is at once as lovely as it is ancient? A woman who, with eyes half shut, might appear to the beholder, as she does to David, the loveliest and most desirable thing in the world. I'll return shortly with Act 3. The sun suddenly drops behind the horizon, and in the half-light of twilight, the age is washed away from the woman's face. Her gray eyes, fastened on David, are wide and shining with love. But to him, lovely as it is a stranger's face. Search his memory as he will, he cannot remember ever having seen it before, although the voice stirs some vagrant chord of memory. You know me?
How can you ask such a question, Jose?
My name is not Jose.
Not yet, perhaps, but it will be.
You think I look like someone you once knew?
I know you do, but looks are unimportant. I know you are.
You called me Jose, the man you think I am. Do you mean Jose Ribeiro?
I mean Jose Ribeiro.
The man who's buried in this grave? Who says he took his life with his own hand?
Who took his life with his own hand, but who is no longer in that grave.
Where is he then?
sitting beside me on this bench.
Me?
The living image.
But only an image. Not the man, the being himself.
Not yet. It takes time.
No, you don't understand. I'm not the way I look. I'm someone else. My name is David Campbell. I don't look this way at all.
If you don't want to look yourself, that can happen too. In time. Oh, it all takes time. But the moon is not yet at the full, and I cannot stay any longer.
No, wait. There are so many questions I need to ask you.
You mean David Campbell is the one who wants to ask the question?
Of course, that's who I am. This Jose Rivera, I can't read the date on his tombstone, but he must have died a long time ago.
Long. And not so long. 200 years to be exact.
And he looked like me? Me as I am now?
You could be one and the same.
How can you be so sure?
Because we loved. Because I should have been his wife.
What? But that means that you have to be.
I must go now. It's almost dark. I can tell you more, if you wish. As much as you can comprehend. Come to tea. Thursday, but not before twilight. Past the church, take the path to the left, down to the waterfall. It's the second house, white-clappered. You can't miss it. It's almost underneath the waterfall itself.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't even know your name.
I'll teach you to remember all. Prudence. Remember. Prudence. Pennypacker. Till Thursday, David. Thursday.
Prudence! Prudence! I was suddenly conscious that the night was pitch black. Flecks of light floated behind my eyes as they might when closing the lids after watching a shooting star. A sudden idea crossed my mind, but in the dark, it wasn't feasible. Besides, I would be in enough bad odor with Lucy being late to dinner as it was. It could wait till Thursday. I was convinced I knew the answer anyway, to that one question. The others I could hardly wait to pose. I thought I had enough problems on my hands. I didn't reckon on the others that were about to rise.
I just can't stand it any longer, David. If you are, David, going on with this charade, so I've made all the arrangements.
Now, wait a minute. What charade? What do you mean?
I can't make up any more lies or half-truths or excuses about you. Martha can't understand why, if you're ill, she can't bring a tray up to you. Cy Blodgett and the others in the village can't imagine if you don't need a doctor why you stay cooped up. Oh, I could go on, but I don't intend to. I've spent the day packing us up. We're going back to Boston to take you to Dr. Chambers or whoever he recommends and get you the treatment you need.
I'm not leaving here before the end of the week. You go to Boston and get a good look at the world you think is turned right side up. Then come back. I have a feeling that within the week I'll know where the future lies. Or if there is any at all, for me. Really, Reverend Bean, you didn't have to have me over for meals all the time like this. The idea was for your housekeeper to drop them off at my place.
Well, she did. A couple of times. But it's easier this way and provides me companionship. Besides, I had to see you today in order to write a shocking piece of information I gave you.
Oh, about what?
Your ruined church and graveyard.
Oh?
I've been searching through our church records. Unfortunately, very scanty and full of gaps. But I find I was wrong. There was indeed a church, and I have no doubt a graveyard, on or about just such a site as you mentioned. How I could ever have missed its ruins myself,
Well, probably so overgrown you could never find them.
Well, then how could you?
Because I was intended to find them.
Hey, why you?
If for no better reason than I walked about the church with the shins.
With the shins?
Yes.
Ah, yes. Ancient Gaelic, Tom. Who with a devil his first compact begins, he first must traverse the church with the shins. Anonymous. Do you believe in the devil, David?
Do we believe in God? If there is one, there has to be the other. I believe I've made an unwitting pact with the second.
No. Even granting that, you can still be saved. If you were indeed a kind of reincarnation of Senor Ribeiro, if I remember his name correctly.
You do.
Then more and more you are throwing off his influence and returning to yourself. Oh, David, I declare, the sun makes your hair seem full red again. And you're getting back your own nice, comfortable, roundy look.
So there's still hope for me?
Always has been.
You say there was such a church, though, as I have described.
Oh, dear me, yes. Built and established in 1695 by one Hiram Pennypacker.
Pennypacker?
Yes, a curious old name. Very common about these parts once. Still, for that matter. Oh, now, you'll join me for dinner.
No, Ephraim, good old friend, I think I will make out for myself this evening.
Will I see you later?
I'm not sure. I may decide to take a long sleep tonight. Lucy's due back in the morning.
Ah, then I'll be trotting along. I have a feeling of something undone. Have I forgotten anything?
You've forgotten nothing. Not even me, who little deserved to be remembered. Goodbye, old friend. This was the Thursday, and for my own reasons, I must be early. As soon as Ephraim was gone, I headed for the Devil's Glen and beyond. I went first straight to the graveyard in the glare of the sinking afternoon sun. It took me some time to find it. A simple headstone with a simple legend. Prudence Pennypacker, 1765, 1789. But she is in her grave, and oh, the difference to me. That quotation from Wordsworth shocked me beyond belief. For the subject of his lament over a lost love was for a girl named not Prudence, but Lucy. From the grave, with a sense of urgency, I found my way down the path to the house beneath the waterfall, and to the girl who had been buried 200 years ago, and to the end of it all, I hoped, at last.
You're late. Things have come up. There won't be time for tea.
Not too late for some explanations.
That depends on what you consider an explanation.
Who was or is Prudence Pennypacker and Jose Ribeiro? What were they to each other? And where do we fit in?
Well, that's asking quite a lot.
No, not in my mind. As far as I can discover, both you and Jose have been buried for 200 years. I'm still alive, even if I'm locked like a hermit crab in another man's shell. Where do I go from here? Or you? Or us? Or all of us?
I can answer some questions. Jose was a very romantic Portuguese who fled a dictator king who was slaughtering the nobility. With his knowledge of languages and education, he became my father's secretary.
Your father was the minister of the ruined church up the hill?
Yes. Jose fell in love with me, and we wanted to be married, but we were of different faiths.
The dream.
What?
The dream I first dreamt. Sitting on the bench by your lover's grave. Before the tree And for all I know, I was struck by lightning. Did he really murder you and kill himself?
If I could not have him, I wanted to die for him, just as he wanted to die for me. Because of my father and my faith, I was buried in consecrated ground. But because he took his own life and was an apostate, Jose was buried in unhallowed ground. He was forced to wander forever until he could find some other body not owned by the devil. I chose to share his exile, waiting for the moment when he could.
And when I risked an old superstition and went about the church the wrong way, he entered into my life, my body.
He took your body, not your soul. That is still yours to command. But is it so much to hold on to? Would you not rather come with me at last and forever to love and be loved no matter who you are or what your name is?
I want to. And yet I don't. I'm afraid. Maybe I can still find my way back to what I was.
Well, go ahead. Try. Perhaps you can if that's really what you want. But just remember, you can have it for only a brief moment. With me, it could be all eternity.
David! Oh, God, I've been so worried. Where have you been?
To the edge of beyond.
What does that mean?
It doesn't matter. Oh, what brought you home so soon?
Lisbeth, she was so worried about you. And I'm so glad now I came.
Are you?
Yes. You look wonderful. Your old self again, aren't you?
Oh? Yes, Lucy.
We must start building you up with right food and rest, right?
Yes, Lucy.
It's a positive miracle. You look exactly like yourself again. It's all over, isn't it, whatever it was? You're David Campbell again.
Yes, Lucy.
Just the way you always were.
Yes, Lucy. Oh, I could look in the mirror, and there I was. Day by day, my looks had returned to exactly what I had been to begin with. What I had neither the heart to tell Lucy or perhaps even face myself was that as my physical form remade itself outside, so inside, my soul, my character, my personality, name it what you want, was bewitched out of itself. The passion, the anger and violent emotion that ran within me was almost more than I could restrain. And I knew it would never be satisfied till I had and owned Prudence. I would destroy everything for that. Lucy, Lisbeth, even myself. I was possessed. Damned forever.
When David Campbell suddenly disappeared, it was the Reverend Ephraim Bean who led the search. A deep instinct told the old man David had returned to the graveyard and the ruined church, but was never found. What was found was David's body, floating in a pool underneath a small waterfall not far above the Devil's Glen. The body lies buried now in one of Boston's most exclusive cemeteries. The body, where the soul has gone, is another question entirely. I'll be back shortly. So let us end this tale, as the Reverend Ephraim Bean might, with a quotation from Shakespeare,
out of a play named The Tempest. Our revels now are ended. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with a sleep. Our cast included Alexander Scorby, Laurie March, Ian Martin, and Marion Seldes. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
The CBS Radio Mystery Theater presents... Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Join me for an interlude in suspense, laden with a chilling fear of the unknown and the unexpected. Out there, in what we are pleased to call the state of nature, the strong kill the weak. Fang and claw provide the only law. Well, man, as you know, is a natural animal. But for countless centuries, he's been trying to change all that, with indifferent success on the whole. But there is hope, because man, after all, has a thing called a conscience. And it works. Not always as promptly or completely as all of us might wish, but it works. And sometimes it may start working before we're even aware of it. Our mystery drama, The Deadly Process, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Sam Dan and stars Norman Rose and Ralph Bell. Sometimes a reunion can result in a most traumatic experience. You know, these get-togethers of old army buddies or old college pals. The greatest pain does not really result from the awareness of the thinning hair and the thickening paunch. It comes from the stinging stab of recognition that precious time is now gone forever, and golden opportunity has been irretrievably wasted. And this pain will leave an aching void for a fulfillment that can never come. However, neither Walter Stallings nor George Loomis has arrived at this point of the evening yet.
Hey, George, remember the time you had a thing for that Latin professor's wife?
Oh, her. Oh, yeah. He was at least twice her age, and she was so frustrated, so unhappy. Well, someone had to bring a bit of sunshine into her life. Poor little girl.
Hey, you remember? You were all set to elope with her. I got Red Garrity and Stan Jakowski from the football team to sit on you till I could pound some sense into your head.
Oh, I hated you that day, Walter.
But she only meant it as a gag.
I didn't see it then. Actually, Walt, I see a lot of things now.
Oh? Like what?
Well, it seems to me that whenever I was in a real jam, you were always there to bail me out.
Just coincidence.
I don't know if I would have made it without you.
Hey, George, shouldn't you call your wife?
Why?
Oh, won't she be worried?
About what? I told Louise, an old college buddy I hadn't seen in 10 years, had dropped in, and we were going to dinner.
You mean she buys a story like that?
Well, sure. Louise is unlike any girl you or I ever knew. It's as if... Well, she's not of this world.
Oh? Well, which world is she a part of?
Well, no world that you or I ever knew or thought about. It's a kind of a world of the spirit.
The spirit? Sounds spooky.
No. There's a quality to Louise that seems to see. It seems to sense things that are unsaid, unknown.
Is that so?
Oh, yeah. I think you'd be a shock to the system.
New subject. George, why do you think I called you today?
You happen to be in town.
No. I didn't happen to be in town. I came to see you. I heard that you were with Tricon Chemical.
Yeah, I'm just about hanging in there.
Yes, but you are head of special research projects.
Today. Tomorrow I may be out on my ear.
Because you can't come up with an ore reduction process.
How did you know?
Everybody knows. Here, Tricon's sitting on the world's biggest known ore deposit, and you can't figure a profitable way to bring it up.
And that, Walter, may cost me my job.
Now, all is not lost, old buddy. Back in college, you remember Professor Pelham?
Pelham?
Yeah. He was the great authority on the reduction of non-ferrous metallic ores, and I was his star pupil.
Oh, Pelham, of course. I remember that paper you wrote.
The theory was absolutely sound, but the technique was ahead of its time.
But the technology exists today. It can be done. Hey, Walter, I have this feeling you're going to save me again.
I have the paper right here. Are you interested?
Am I interested? Is a drowning man interested in a life preserver? And look, Walter, there's a fortune in it for you.
No, I don't care about the money so much. I'll tell you what I need.
Well, anything, Walter, anything. If this can work out, you're going to be a rich man.
I need the credit. Hey, George, let's call it the Stallings-Loomis process.
But I didn't do anything to...
Ah, but you will. You have to make certain refinements to adapt it to your particular situation.
Yeah. I have the feeling. I just have the feeling I'm saved. First thing in the morning, I'll get an agreement drawn up.
Oh, come on, George. Two old buddies like you and me, a handshake's enough. Share and share alike. Is it a deal, George?
It's a deal. Mr. Loomis?
Sir?
George Loomis? Who are you? Call me, Mr. Even. Even? Yeah. It's because of what I do. Well, what do you do? I even things up. I don't think I understand. Well, you borrowed some money from some pals of mine. I beg your pardon? And things are kind of shaky. See what I mean? I'm afraid Come on, it's late at night. You want to get home? I want to go home. So these pals of mine naturally eats a lot of dough when they feel consigned. I'll repay the money. These pals of mine, they keep an ear to the ground. They hear things. They hear you may be losing your job. Well, that's ridiculous. Well, that's not for me to say. My pals just want you to know that the dough has got to come through on time, one way or another. Well, you tell your friends that there's nothing to worry about. Not anymore.
George, darling.
Louise.
I didn't hear you come home.
I didn't want to disturb you, my dear.
Why are you sitting up so late?
I'm working.
Well, you can come to bed now, dear.
Well, I haven't finished.
George, dear. I know that you've just seen the answer.
The answer?
The answer to the problem that's been plaguing you for so long.
How do you know?
I know, dearest. I know. I can see it in your face. You have found the answer, haven't you?
I've been considering a new approach.
And?
And it looks promising. It's a highly technical process. It has to do with the separation of certain metallic ores. Well, anyhow, I think I have it licked. I think I have the answer.
The answer. Oh, George, that's what fascinates me. Now, how did you arrive at the answer? Was it a rearrangement of old elements? Or was it the addition of something new? Or was it a sudden flash of insight?
Yes, a sudden flash of insight.
Oh, darling, I'm so happy. I told you. You trust your subconscious. All the meaningful answers are hidden there. Now, tell me about this college friend of yours, Walter Stallings.
Walter... Well,
I would have been glad to join you for dinner.
Why, no, dear.
After all, old friends have a certain precious quality.
We weren't exactly old friends.
Oh? I thought you said that he was...
Well, we were acquaintances, really. Nothing more. I only saw him because I didn't want him to think I was snubbing him.
That was very kind of you, darling.
Well, I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
I can't imagine you hurting anyone.
It killed an evening. I suppose such things can't be helped. We can expect a production schedule to be set up for the period from the 15th through... Miss Dawson, you'll have to check that date, and with Kelsey and his people, they have those dates. We must also make sure...
Oh, George.
Hey, Walt.
Nice day.
Let me shut this thing open.
How did I get in here? Well, let's say I sweet-talked that receptionist into looking the other way. I promise you won't fire her.
Oh, I promise.
You are a hard man to see, Georgie.
Well, we're swamped here.
Well, I sent my name in.
Well, as you can see, I'm dictating. My regular girl is out sick.
Yeah. Well, George, how we doing, process-wise? You know, the Stallings-Loomis process?
It's in the works.
The works?
Well, as you know, the theory is 100% sound. Now, what manufacturing is doing, they're setting up the cost estimates.
Well, how long do they sit on it?
Well, a couple of weeks, a month, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I just dropped in, you know.
Sure, I know.
And as soon as you get the word...
You'll be the first to know.
Oh, that's great. Hey, look, how about some lunch, huh?
Oh, we're in such a hassle here, Walter. There's hardly time to grab a sandwich at the desk.
As you said, George, it's worth a fortune. You know what I'm going to do with my half?
What?
Nothing. Just sit on the beach and count the waves. I'll have a couple of girls to help me keep score. And champagne.
Well, you'll deserve it. I'll be in touch.
Oh, it occurs to me. You don't know where I'm staying. I'm at the City Line Motor Inn.
Oh. Well, let me write that down.
Yeah, okay. And, look, I really should meet Louise. I'll be on my best behavior.
Well, let me check with her and find out what night she's free.
Loomis, George Loomis, let me be the first to shake your hand.
Mr. Barker.
George, it works. It works. And when you see the bonus you're in for, well, we can talk about that later. The technique works, and we'll call it the Loomis reduction process.
Hey, wait a minute.
Who is this, George?
My name is Walter Stallings, and... Well, if you're saying what I think you're saying, that's my process you're talking about.
George, what is this man saying?
Mr. Barker, he just broke into my office. He's been threatening...
George, what are you saying?
Well, who is he? Do you know him?
Does he know me? We were roommates at college.
What's going on here?
I can explain everything, Mr. Barker.
George, what are you trying to pull?
I knew this man, Mr. Barker, a long time ago at school. He was
George!
He was always a little bit off.
This process, this ore reduction process, it is mine. I created it. It belongs to me.
Now, Walter, you simply can't go around having these tantrums.
Let me call security. We'll have this man removed.
But it's mine. It belongs to me. I discovered it more than 10 years ago.
Sure. Now, Walter, you go home, rest. You'll feel better tomorrow.
George, what are you trying to do to me?
Look here, whoever you are, whatever your name is, you'd better leave now, peacefully and quietly, or I can promise you'll see the inside of a prison cell.
Who do you think you're talking to, you fat old walrus?
Now, Walter.
And you too. You steal my process and you think you can throw me in jail.
All right, Walter, that's enough.
You thief.
Now, take it easy,
Let's
Walter.
call the police.
Sure, let's call the police and let's give them a good reason for coming.
Oh,
And now, for you, fatty. Back to you, George. Now, you get up.
All right.
You haven't had enough.
You're crazy.
George, why? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?
We ask why also. And yet, it's the oldest story in the world, isn't it? While half a loaf may be better than none, the entire loaf is best of all. The loaf will have to be sliced, and we shall see who will hold the knife when I return shortly with Act 2. In a general way, one should have faith in humanity and trust in one's friends. It's when we leave generalities and come down to specifics that the rub comes in. Walter Stallings trusted George Loomis, and when the dust had settled, George had stolen Walter's valuable industrial process, and Walter was jailed for disorderly conduct when he protested such shabby treatment. Is there no justice? It all depends on what justice really is.
More coffee, darling?
Half a cup, maybe. I should be leaving for the office.
George, what's this in the newspaper? What?
Where, dear?
Darling, it mentions your name. Chemical company executives in brawl?
Oh, that, I should have looked at the paper and slipped that thing out.
Why? What is it?
Well, I know how upsetting things like this can be.
George, what does this mean?
It means, darling, that people in Mr. Barker's position, my position, can often be at the mercy of every nut, every crank that comes down the pike.
Yes, I don't understand. It says that you stole that process from Walter Stallings.
No, dear, it doesn't say that. It says Walter Stallings claims I stole it.
But it says right here...
There are 4 paragraphs in the story. 3 of them are concerned with what Walter Stallings claims. And notice the sympathetic tone. The 4th paragraph is a brief couple of sentences in which our company denies all of his allegations. That's because he's just one man and we are a mammoth corporation, and the public will sympathize with the underdog.
But what are the facts, dear? I mean, you did meet with Walter, let's say 10 days or 2 weeks ago.
Of course.
Well, what happened?
We chatted.
Was the process mentioned?
Well...
And did it have anything to do with the meeting you had with Walter?
Yes, we were just sitting around trying to make talk.
But did you talk about the process?
Well, let me tell you how. He said to me, I hear your company is having trouble trying to reduce some ores. And I said, yes. And he said, I'll bet you don't remember. And I said, remember what? And he said, oh, you did a pretty good paper on that back in college. And suddenly...
Yes, dear?
Well, suddenly it all came back to me. Just like that.
What did?
A theoretical problem I'd once solved in an exam. Isn't it remarkable, darling, how quickly we forget so many of the basics?
And that's the process that he's talking about.
Yes, dear, that's the process.
But why should he claim that...
Oh, well, darling, he's a peculiar person. He always was. We were at school together. I got somewhere he didn't.
Well, I think it's awful.
Well, look, I'll tell you what I'll do. After he cools down, after a couple of days in jail, I'll put up his bond.
George, that would be so kind of you.
And I tell you, I think ethically he's entitled to something.
Oh, I'm so happy you feel that way.
Well, I admit I was stumped, up against it. He did contribute something. He reminded me that I had the answer. In that sense, he helped me find it. And in that sense, morally, he's entitled to a finder's fee. When I get the bonus, I'll give him a few $1,000s.
Oh, George, I love you so much. George, is that you?
No, it isn't George. It's Walter Stallings. And you must be Louise.
Yes, who...
May I come in? It does look like a china shop. I promise I won't be a bull.
What are you saying, Mr. Stallings?
Oh, Walter, after all, when a woman's husband steals a man's most precious possession, the woman can at least call him by his first name.
But what are you...
What am I doing here? Well, I can't get to see George at the office. They have security guards all over the place.
Please, Mr. Stallings.
Walter, I'll tell you what I'm doing here. I've come to beat the living daylights out of George.
What good would that do?
I didn't say it would do any good. But, my dear Louise, what is left?
Listen, I have a feeling for people. I just know that you're not a bad person.
Oh, is that so?
Actually, you're a very good man. Now, Walter, why do you insist that my husband stole your formula?
Because it's the truth.
I cannot believe that George, who's so gentle, so kind and sensitive, could think of behaving in such a despicable manner.
I guess you believe that. Oh, yes, it's a lovely little place you have here. Everything seems so delicate. It's peaceful. It's a world of its own. Well, I hope the real world never breaks in here.
But it has broken in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
May I get you a cup of tea?
Tea? Here's a woman's husband steals my work and she offers me a cup of tea.
I like you, Walter.
Oh, you like me?
There's something about you that's very straightforward. You're an honest man.
No, wait just a minute. Are you saying that I am right and George is wrong?
You can be honest and still be mistaken.
Yeah, sure.
Walter, listen to me. Try to shed your anger.
I am entitled to my anger. I know what happened.
Are you convinced that the formula belongs to you?
Now, look here.
Please, answer.
Yes.
Then you don't need anger. You don't need bitterness.
What do I need?
You need peace of mind, calm, serenity.
I always had those things. It's because my formula's been stolen that I'm no longer serene, calm, peaceful.
If you truly owned those qualities, you could never really lose them.
You know, you're a witch.
Please.
I came in here with blood in my eye, ready to kill. And now...
And now?
Well, now I feel so different. What did you do to me?
Nothing. You probably found yourself.
Yes, I did. I just remembered something.
What?
Oh, the basic relationship that existed between George and me.
And what was that?
Oh, well, you wouldn't want to hear it.
No, if it's the truth.
Well, he was kind of dumb. I was always getting him out of jams.
That's how you saw it.
This is typical of the stupid things he's always done.
You're not supposed to be angry, remember?
Oh, I'm not angry. I bear him no malice. It's his way, and he can't help it. Why did I blow my stag? Oh, wait a minute. Good Lord, I have my proof.
You mean what appears to be proof?
Pelham. Professor Pelham.
Who?
My old metallurgy prof. He's an internationally respected authority. He'd remember. I'm sorry, Louise.
For what?
Well, you love George, and you helped me just now to come up with the evidence that can destroy him.
No, Walter. The truth will never destroy anybody. I had a visitor this afternoon. As a matter of fact, he just left.
Oh?
Walter Stallings.
Walter...
He's really a very sweet person.
Louise, the man is violent.
No, he's just troubled, confused.
Look, if he even made so much as a hint of a threat...
We became friends.
I don't believe it.
Why not? He's just a nice man.
Oh, darling, you don't know anything about...
About what?
About the real world.
Dear, why do you keep insisting I know nothing about the real world? I'm very much aware of it.
He's hysterical, unstable. He could have beaten you. There's only one way to treat wild animals.
Oh, and what's that?
Lock them up.
In the first place, he's not an animal. Secondly, locking people up never solves anything. And thirdly, we found a way to handle the problem.
You what?
He must be made to face reality. And reality is that he must give up these hallucinations that the process belongs to him.
Well, I agree with that completely.
Now, he happened to mention an old college professor.
Oh.
What was the name again? Pelham?
Pelham?
Yes, he said that Pelham could vindicate him.
He said that?
Well, of course, we know it's impossible. Pelham will disillusion him. Well, Professor Pelham will, won't he?
Well, of course.
And thus, Walter will have to face the truth. I gather he respects Pelham, and Pelham has no ulterior motives, so he'll have to accept Pelham's word. So you see, my darling, these things always work themselves out. You don't need violence, force, and... Where are you going?
Oh, I forgot to tell you. I'm due back at the shop.
You have to work again tonight.
I'm afraid so.
Oh, well, try not to stay too late.
Well, I mustn't make a promise I can't keep. I'm afraid I'll be out very late.
It's Mr. Starling.
Good morning, Maudie. You're more beautiful than ever. Oh, how I longed for you all these years.
You're still full of your old nonsense.
Can I have a cup of coffee with the professor? What?
Yeah, the professor. He ain't in.
Oh?
He's, gone to one of them, conferences.
Where?
One of them foreign countries.
Really?
Yes, he'll be gone a while because... He'll go on a sabbatical.
Maudie, why are you lying?
Oh, honest, Mr. Starling.
You don't know how to lie, Maudie. You make a horrible mess of it. Now, you tell the professor that I'm here.
But he...
Yes?
Oh, he's in his study.
Thank you, Maudie.
Come in.
Hello, Professor.
Why, it's,
Walter Stallings.
Walter. Sit. Find a chair.
Now, what's this bit you're not in?
I'm trying to write my book.
Same book?
Same book. It's good to see you, Walter.
Professor, you are going to save my life. Do you remember a paper I wrote for you, 10, 11 years ago?
It's going back a long time ago.
Yeah, but you said that you'd never forget that paper.
I did?
Yes, it was all about new methods of reduction of non-ferrous metals.
Walter, the years come and go.
But you were so taken with it. You kept the original, and I had to make a copy for my own files.
Walter, if I kept copies of all the papers my students wrote, my home would be a warehouse.
Professor, you wrote such glowing praise on practically every page.
I'm sorry, I just can't recall it.
Look, I brought the idea in that paper to George Loomis. You recall him, the class dummy?
I don't see...
Well, believe it or not, he is head of research at Tricon Chemical, and... Well, he stole the process from me.
Oh, I can hardly believe this.
I guess he came down here to buy you off, huh?
What? How dare you?
How much did he offer you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, I hope that your conscience...
Walter, I really don't remember. Yes, George was here. He offered me a consultantship at Tricon, and... I'm getting very old, and I never made any real money.
Yeah, sure.
And Walter, I really don't remember. I really don't remember.
Good night, Professor.
Mr. Starling.
Yes, Maudie.
Forgive him. He's getting senile. That man in there is not the same Professor Pelham you used to worship. I used to worship.
I know, Maudie. I know. But what can be done? Oh, nobody can help me now.
Don't say nobody. I can save you. And I can save him.
How, Maudie?
I've got the paper.
What? The paper? My paper?
That paper. He kept it for himself because he liked it so much. And then the other day he says to me, Maudie, burn this. Well, I couldn't understand. It just ain't like him.
Oh, Maudie, how can I ever thank you?
But why should you thank me? I'm only doing the right thing.
Now I've got him. Now, Mr. George Loomis, look out.
He stands there, Walter Stallings, holding a sheaf of technical-looking typewritten pages. A treatise written with youthful enthusiasm as part of a college exercise. And now...
it determines the profits of $1 billion international corporation and the lives of at least 3 human beings. We'll see where the process leads us when I return shortly with Act 3. Somewhere, sometime, someone has surely given us the following advice. Always get it in writing. So much of the anguish of this world results because we fail to heed that advice. Walter Stallings had a problem because he didn't get an agreement from George Loomis in writing. However, luckily, miraculously, somehow, Walter has managed to come up with the most effective writing of all.
Come in, George. Sit down.
Yes, sir.
George, we have a problem. Stallings is taking us to court.
He hasn't a leg to stand on.
Are you sure?
He's a crank. It's one of those nuisance things.
Are you sure he has no proof?
Nothing.
Written? Oral?
Absolutely none.
Then we have to fight him. But something bothers me.
What's that?
I've had some research done on him. He seems to be a very competent man. He has a good reputation. What makes you think he can't win in court?
Mr. Barker, he doesn't have a chance in the world.
I hope so, George. For your sake.
Oh, Miss Dawson? No. I won't see anyone. Just tell him I'm out of town.
Hello.
Now, look here, Mr.
Mr. Even. You still owe my pal some money.
Look, I received a promotion. I'm getting a bonus.
Yeah, that was as of yesterday.
But I am getting a bonus.
Yeah, but today is a lawsuit.
Oh.
Yeah, oh.
Well, what does it mean? Big corporations are constantly being sued.
Regardless, if this guy wins.
He can't win.
If he wins, where would it leave you? Out of a job and broke. You see the position I'm in. As a starter, I'd have to bust your legs.
Well, he can't.
What? Can he win?
He has a chance.
Okay. So now I know where we stand. I know what I gotta do.
I may be wrong.
He has to have no chance at all. I hear somebody coming. I want to make sure it's the right guy. I keep in the shadow, you guys. I'll ask him for a light. If it's him, I'll cough. And then you guys step up and take care of him. Excuse me, pal. You got a light?
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks.
Hey, what?
Chester, hand me his briefcase. I'll see if he's got something interesting in it. Don't take any dough, nothing from his wallet. We gotta make this look like an automobile accident. Just let him lay there. Poor guy. He was crossing the street and some hit-and-run driver knocked him off.
Mr. Stallings.
Walter.
Of course, Walter. Please, come in.
Thank you.
Walter?
Yes?
Is something the matter?
Why do you ask?
There's something about you that...
Yes.
I don't know. It's as if you're not really here. As if I'm...
Imagining it?
No. This isn't a dream or a delusion. I'm awake. I know I'm awake. Look. Hold out your hand. I'd like to touch you. Walter, let me touch your hand. Walter? Walter? Where are you?
Now, darling, it must have been an illusion of some sort.
But I'm so positive.
When did you say it happened?
Exactly 9 o'clock. I was just about to listen to the news.
Darling, here is why he couldn't have been here.
George, why do you insist?
Because at 7 o'clock he was found by a police car.
What?
A hit-and-run driver.
Oh, no.
He was taken to the hospital. He was...
Dead?
Almost. He's in a coma. He's not expected to live.
But he was here.
No, darling.
I saw him. We spoke.
Darling, it's your imagination.
I'll go to him. I'll go to the hospital.
You can't. How would it look?
It would look like what it is, a visit from a friend. Walter?
He can't hear you, Mrs. Loomis.
Can, Doctor. He can. And I can hear him.
Louise.
Yes, Walter.
I had to leave you before because I wasn't dead yet.
What are you saying, Walter?
Mrs. Loomis, he isn't saying anything. Louise, I have to see George. When I'm dead, he mustn't worry. I'll still help him.
Of course. You'll help George.
I've always helped him. I'll still help him after I'm dead.
Walter. Oh, Walter.
Mrs. Loomis, you must leave now. After I'm dead, I'll come back for George. Mrs. Loomis.
Yes. Goodbye, Walter. Goodbye for now. Doctor.
I'm sorry, but there isn't a chance in the world. He can hang on for minutes, days, but we can't save him.
But I was just talking to him. You heard.
I heard nothing. He wasn't saying anything.
But I heard him.
Mrs. Loomis, it's just your imagination.
Taxi. You don't need a taxi, George. I got a car right here. Step inside.
Where did you come from?
We won't take up too much of your time. Let's drive through the park, Chester. It's such a nice day.
What do you want? I've paid off your friends.
I got lots of friends. I got a friend who tells me if he could get his hands on Tricon's proposed development program, it would be worth a fortune. Certain people.
I dare say it would, but I have no use for espionage of any kind.
When can you let me have the plans?
I don't think you hear me.
You're the one who don't understand. Isn't listening. You give me some papers. They describe that ore process. Nobody else knows but the two of us.
You can't keep asking me to do anything like that. You can't. Now, sooner or later, I have to be caught.
You know what that is, Georgie? That's life.
Louise!
She isn't home.
What? Walter. Well, I thought you were in the hospital.
No. I'm dead.
What are you saying? You're here?
Yes. I'm here, but I'm dead.
Look, either you're crazy or I'm crazy.
George, I'm here because you sent for me.
I sent for you?
You always sent for me, George, one way or another. You always used to bring me all your troubles.
Yeah. And you're always so helpful. Maybe that's why I hated you. You always knew best. You were always right.
I couldn't help that.
Once, just once, I wanted to get the better of you. That's why I had to take your process. I had to.
Yes. Oh, you need me, George. You're in trouble again.
That's a lie.
Look ahead, George. 6 months, a year from now, you'll be completely disgraced.
That isn't true.
It's starting right now. George, that's why I'm here. That's why you wanted to see me. I have to bail you out again.
What can you do?
Come with me, George.
Come where?
Where I'm going.
Where's that?
I don't know yet. Let's go for a little walk. A nice, pleasant little walk down along the river.
Mr. Barker.
May I come in, Louise?
Please do.
Where's George?
Well, I know he was home this afternoon. He might have gone out for a walk. Is something wrong?
I am deeply disturbed. Is it possible that George and this Walter Stallings are in cahoots? Is it a plot to hold up the company, a big shakedown?
Oh, how could you possibly suspect George?
I was driving down Garfield Boulevard and I saw them. It was just a half hour ago.
Saw whom?
George and this Walter Stallings.
But you couldn't have.
They were walking down the street together.
You saw it?
Like two long-lost friends.
Are you sure?
Well, young lady, I'd never make a mistake. I know what I saw.
But Walter Stallings is in the hospital in a coma. I was there this morning.
I understand your loyalty to your husband, but I'll bet my life on what I saw. By the time I could turn my car around, they disappeared somewhere down River Street.
Oh, excuse me.
Do you mind if I answer that, Mrs. Loomis? If that's George, I want to confront him without your...
Certainly, Mr. Barker.
Hello?
Is Mrs. Loomis there?
Who's calling?
This is Dr. Coleman.
You can tell me first.
Walter Stallings is dead.
What?
We did all we could. He died an hour ago.
But I just saw him on Garfield Boulevard.
Oh no, sir, you were mistaken. Will you tell Mrs. Loomis?
Yes. Yes. I'll tell Mrs. Loomis.
Walter Stallings is dead, isn't he?
I guess I was mistaken.
I understand, Mr. Barker.
Funny. But I did see him. I promise you won't say anything to George when you see him.
I promise. I won't say anything to George. If I see him.
If I see him. At that point, she knew. She knew what you and I have already suspected. That she wouldn't see George again. She wasn't really surprised when George's body was found in the river a few days later. She knew it was necessary for Walter to help George once again. And for better or worse, that was the way it had to be. I'll be back for better in a few moments. George Loomis, Walter Stallings. A bond, a mysterious, unbreakable bond forged between two men. Neither asked for it, neither even wanted it. But in life and in death, they would be inseparably linked. And talking about the bonds that link, we hope you'll be bonded to your set for the next mystery tale. Our cast included Norman Rose, Ralph Bell, Marion Seldes, Bob Maxwell, and Jackson Beck. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. This is E.G. Marshall inviting you to return to our Mystery Theater for another adventure in the macabre. Until next time, pleasant dreams.
CBS News, presidential lawyer James St. Clair has refused repeatedly to say whether President Nixon will obey any adverse ruling from the Supreme Court on the Watergate tapes. I'm Jim Kilpatrick reporting on the CBS Radio Network. St. Clair held a nationally broadcast news conference Monday evening. The most frequent question was, would the president obey a Supreme Court order on the tapes, something aides had said he would do in the past, but St. Clair declined to be specific.
I'm sorry to have to disappoint you. The same basis for my declining to answer, I think, in the past has to be adhered to now. To answer the question so that it will not be misunderstood would require speculation on my part and lead to other questions as to what if the court would say this and what if the court would say that. I think most lawyers would recognize that it's highly improper to discuss a case that's pending before a court that's under consideration by that court. And therefore I feel it inappropriate until such time as the court decides the matter to not inject my views as to what that decision either will or ought to be.
Presidential lawyer James St. Clair. He also revealed that he had written to Judiciary Committee counsel John Doerr asking that he be allowed to present the president's case when the committee opens its hearings to radio and television Wednesday. Mariah McLaughlin in Washington has committee reaction.
Mr. St. Clair has no further role as I see it. That's the reaction of Judiciary Committee Chairman Peter Rodino to a request by the president's lawyer that he be allowed to sit in on the impeachment debate which begins on Wednesday. That portion of the impeachment proceeding is the first to be open to radio and television coverage. And it's expected to take about 4 days, and then there will be the vote. And many members, like Democrat Elizabeth Holtzman, say the committee members will rise above politics.
It's essential that we look at this to the best we can, not as partisans, not as Democrats or Republicans, but look at it from the point of view of our love for the Constitution, our respect for the rule of law, and our feeling for this country.
Most of today was spent listening to a counter-impeachment brief by Assistant Minority Counsel Sam Garrison, who spent much of his time emphasizing just what were the constitutional requirements to establish an impeachable offense. Mariah McLaughlin, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
It is 7 a.m. Tuesday morning on the island of Cyprus. The last word from the country was that the ceasefire was holding, but that was hours ago from the United Nations command. There is no new word from Cyprus itself. The ceasefire went into effect after Turkish jets were over Nicosia, and according to Dean Brelis in Nicosia, made bombing runs on the airport. Newsweek magazine reports that an hour after the original uprising on Cyprus that ousted Archbishop Makarios, U.S. intelligence agents intercepted a message from the rebels to the Greek regime on the mainland saying Operation President is underway and on schedule. Newsweek said the intercepted message dispelled any doubts as to whether the coup had been planned in Athens. In Washington, a Pentagon spokesman declined comment on the report. Greek and Turkish leaders are scheduled to meet Wednesday to discuss the Cyprus situation, but reports from Athens cast some doubts on the success of the Wednesday meeting. More after this.
Time Magazine. What's in it for you this week? Cover story. The Republicans' moment of truth. This week, as the House Judiciary Committee nears its historic vote on impeachment, the 17 Republican committee members face an agonizing dilemma. Should they succumb to the pressures of the party's velvet glove and lashing whip and show partisan support of the president? Or should they concur in the call for impeachment by special counsel John Doerr? Of the critical 17 Republicans, Time tells you man by man who is certainly against impeachment, who is probably for, and the reasons why. World. Time correspondent's eyewitness reports of the landing of Turkish troops in Cyprus. Essay, some tough advice to the U.S. government on fighting inflation. These are just some of the stories in the current issue of Time. Part of a sweeping view of the whole world's week. For Time takes you to San Clemente, where Ron Ziegler has taken to a Honda. To Venice, California for a look at nudity on the beach. To Newport for the America's Cup trials. And under the sea for a study of the riches to be harvested there. It's all in Time this week. Pick up a copy today, for Time makes everything more interesting, including you.
President Nixon will appear on nationwide radio and television Thursday evening with the economic speech before a group of specially invited Los Angeles business leaders. According to the White House, the purpose of the Thursday speech is to tell the nation what the president is doing to halt inflation. The Gulf Oil Company says its profits increased 50% during the first half of 1974. I'm Jim Kilpatrick, CBS News.